Sasquatch and Holler. Please like and subscribe.
And hit that bell.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey,
You're
Roger,
here.
how's it going?
Caught you, didn't I?
Yeah, it caught me. I was like, whoops, sitting down. We are live.
Here we are live. Hey, y'all, if Amanda gets cut off, there's storms headed her way or getting close. So
Yeah, they're actually on top of my head right now.
so man, what a crazy week. We have a chat going on with Amanda and Ashley and I, and y'all have seen the little Jesus. Everybody needs a little Jesus, right? And I made a comment. There's a guy in town that does. He makes those, and I asked him if he could make me a little Bigfoot. And
God, those are awesome.
he made me a few of them, and they're a little bigger than Jesus. Bigfoot's a little bigger than Jesus. So I went over and picked them up earlier, and Ashley was like, "Excuse me, what do you mean, little Jesus?" She had never seen them.
Yeah, those things are everywhere down here. I guess maybe it's just a southern thing. I don't know. But yeah, everybody needs a little Jesus. So there's a
Yeah.
little Jesus. But yeah, now got a little bit of Bigfoot.
Yeah. So
Hopefully
we're gonna
that'll
have to
start coming around.
we have to send her a little Jesus. So yeah, but y'all, I thought they turned out pretty cool.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, I got 36 of them. They'll probably be giveaways or maybe sell them at a conference or something. I don't know. But hey, everybody, thank you for coming in. I feel like this is going to be a laid back show because Amanda's already been on Daniel's show and I taped Monday night. So hopefully it'll be entertaining for y'all. And I
think it should still be entertaining. It'll get a chance for our audience to meet Daniel and hear his stories and what he does, and it'll be good.
Yeah, and we found out that we have a lot in common actually. Me and Daniel. But Miss Joanne, there's no store link. I'm not selling these. I just made them for like local. Yep. So we're gonna bring Daniel in. He's back there. I cut him off. He was trying to explain to us about a drink he had, and I looked up and we had like 2 seconds to go live. So let's bring Daniel in. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much, man. Thank you for coming in. I get a little giddy sometimes, like when the show starts, and I get excited about seeing the chat and everything, and I don't know what to do first. Say hi to everybody or bring people in, and we're just laid back. But there's Ashes. I think you know Ashes, right?
Oh yeah, Ashes and I are buddies.
Yeah, Ashes won one of my hats, and he said he wears it every day, even showers with it, I believe.
Nice.
No kidding.
Hey, what's up there, Leanne? Hi. Hey, so I saw you had little G. Are those 3D printed?
Yes. So the guy has been making these and giving them away around town.
Yeah.
And he's a local dude, and I said, make me a little Bigfoot, and he made me 36 of these. Now,
nice.
Now. They're expensive for what they are. I paid $1.25 a piece because he only made 36. Yeah. And it took him 24 hours for his printer, probably. They were done at 4:00 today. So, actually, I'll have to pick the extra off of them. The others. Yeah. So they weren't cheap, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I have a buddy of mine that does 3D printing, and today he gave me a stool sample. Like, see right there? There's a little stool. There's a little stool in there.
Ain't it funny what people can do?
A little stool.
That's funny.
Yeah. I'm gonna pop up a a comment here that just popped up. Miss Sharon asked to keep Steve and Moggs in your
Oh, no.
thoughts. Apparently, Steve
Oh, it's
lost his
sad.
father this morning. So, yeah, any people who pray, yeah, keep them in your thoughts and prayers for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us know, Sharon. Hey, y'all, that's one thing we say this all the time. Even Daniel said we got into this for different reasons, and so we could
Mhm.
ask questions and learn and stuff. But I'm impressed with the crowd that shows up because
Mhm.
everybody supports each other, and if you ask for prayers or even if you don't know what's going on, they'll let you know. And it's just, of course, Leanne's laughing at your stool sample.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, see, and I try not to look at chat because they're hilarious, and I get distracted.
That'll get you in trouble sometimes.
Oh yeah, they will for sure.
But y'all, so here's what's happened. I looked up and Amanda was on Daniel's show. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You didn't tell me about that. And then of course I talked to Daniel, and we scheduled it for like 3 weeks, and stuff kept happening. And then
Well, here's the thing. This is how it happened. So, because she had to postpone her interview on mine because you guys had Vic on yours.
Yeah.
And
oh,
it's
it
just
was right.
you had to keep
yeah,
going back and forth. I was like, I am sorry to like have to postpone. And I told him who
Yeah.
it was. He's like, yeah, go for it, girl. I don't care.
yeah, absolutely. She goes, we've got the interview of a lifetime, and I'm like, okay, who can it be? And then I see it's Vic. I'm like, oh, for sure, you got to. And then it just so happens you weren't feeling good.
No, it was
And
bad.
so you had to reschedule yours. So I just on a whim just reached out. I said, hey, Amanda, I said, do you think you have some time? Would you like to come on the show? And she's like, oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, let's get it. When would you like? I said, well, I
I'm
don't know.
so bad for that. I apologize. But it ended up working out. I had something else that had canceled, and you hit,
Yeah,
like, yeah, you know what? Let's do this.
yeah.
It worked out great.
And so she came on your slot. So yeah, it worked
Okay.
out perfect. So I got one half of Squatch and Holler on. So
Well, and we do that. We're in communication about what shows we might do, and her and Ashley, and we kick around ideas. We've got ideas for probably months, but we don't tell each other really what we're doing, and it's like a surprise. I'm like, oh, it's like the meme with DiCaprio pointing at the TV,
Yep.
like, oh, I know.
Yep.
Yep.
He's like, yep. Yep.
So-
I know that one.
So today we talk about, or I don't talk about it, I can't even spell it, but synchronicity. And I had something happen today. I saw my cousin. I haven't seen her in 40 something years, and I bumped into her at Goodwill after I picked up my little Bigfoots. But I was like, hey, Lisa. And she looked back. She said, how'd you know it was me? I'm like, how did you know that it was me? She said, oh, I watched your show. Or I have watched your show. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then she said, yeah, I don't know. She doesn't know about the subject, but she said, but we did stop at the Bigfoot Museum in at Blue Ridge, Georgia. I'm like, well, that's where Amanda works. So it's like all these interesting things keep happening. Let's see.
This is one of my new additions.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's cool.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah, and there's that.
Now,
Yeah.
see, I didn't realize it was flipping people off, but this was like just regular, like concrete. And
Wow.
this thing probably weighs about 15 pounds. But
That's
I had a buddy of mine who's an artist, and he painted it like he had it for like a week, and he painted it for me. I'm like, that's cool. So
That's awesome. He did a good job. I wouldn't have known, or at
Oh,
least
yeah.
what comes through on the camera, anyways.
yeah, it's awesome.
Leanne go to reunions much. It's a long story on with her. She's a very, very good person. She had a tough life, but anyway, it's kind of hard to do stuff like this because I was on Daniel's show, and we kind of just sat around and talked about what we do and what's things that have happened and all that. And we all have an origin story.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, Daniel. I knew this was coming up in the future, even before we talked.
Mhm.
So I've never heard a lot of your stuff, and I do that on purpose because I want to hear it, for the first time. But if everybody doesn't know, he started a podcast, and did you start co-hosting with Josh first before you started yours?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Josh Smith is an awesome dude.
Yeah, Josh. I was on Josh. Here's a funny thing. Okay, so, I remember I saw. I mean, I don't know how many Bigfoot, Sasquatch, cryptid groups I'm on in Facebook. I can't count. I'm on so many. I get so many notifications, but I was just flipping through one day, and again, I'm not always on Facebook. I'm legit not. When I do my most activity on Facebook is when I'm posting that Josh and I have a live, or I'll wait till I have 2 or 3 episodes up, and then I'll say, "Hey guys, new episodes up. If you want to go check them out, here's a link." Blah blah blah. Well, just one day I was flipping through, and there's a post on one of the things. If you've had an encounter with Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or something you just can't figure out, and you'd like to come on the show, shoot me an email or a message. So I sent him a message. And like a month later, I get this message out of the blue. "Hey man, so you want to come on the show?" And I'm like, "What show? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh, the Bigfoot show, my Mysteries Unknown." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. When do you want me on?" And little did I know that Josh and I, we're like a little over a year of our friendship. And it's like more than a friendship. Him and I are legit. We're brothers from other mothers.
Right.
But and then I remember he just asked me out of the blue, "Hey, would you like to do a live?" And I go, "Sure." And so the first live is when it was it the lunar eclipse that just happened last year, like the big event where people were going crazy for it or whatever. I don't know if it was it was a lunar eclipse. We had a live on the lunar eclipse. And we had 886 viewers.
Wow.
Nice.
Total.
Wow, that's cool.
No, they weren't all on at the same time. I think at that time we had like maybe 65 views, people viewing when we were live, but then all in all we only had like under 900 total views, and now it's just every time we get on, I mean we're sitting at about 150 people watching while we're doing it, and then in the thousands of people watching it after. So
and what's funny, I asked Josh early on because I went on his show and he had like 200 subscribers, and and we I try to help out. I mean, I know how it is. I started the same way you did, and I don't know what he's doing. He's figured something out. And of course, he's really good at doing what he does, of course.
Yes.
But with his background and all the stuff he can do, and but his subscribers count went nuts.
He's almost at 16,000, bro.
I know, and
wow.
I looked at some of his views the other day, and a small show is like 4,000 up to 20,000. I don't know.
He did a mashup where I think he put like 5 or 6 of his previous episodes up, and that thing, when last I checked, was sitting at 48,000 views.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn. I'm watching YouTube videos, and some of them are scammy, but I'm getting an idea. But also, I know what people are looking for as far as the cool graphics and all that, and to hold their attention, and I'm just not set up for that. Hopefully we've got a good core group of people and everything. But the good thing is, about this subject, we don't have that many trolls. We have a few every now and then, but it seems like they stay away pretty much. And that's the cool thing. And then, well, let's I'm stuttering here. Let's get to the story you told. Like, I know we talked about you had like paranormal and UFO stuff happen, like me. What was you had a Bigfoot experience too, right? Or at least one?
Well, I had a sighting at first. And then it wasn't until later in life when I physically created a checklist for myself. I took out a piece of paper and I just started writing down, howls, screams, whoops, wood knocks, rock clacking, all of this type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got everything at the tip of our hands, at the tips of our fingers with our phones.
Mm-hmm.
And, so then I discovered, this thing called Facebook, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to do that. That's crazy. Wrong. I did it. Then I started getting into YouTube and things like that. And I'm like, okay. So then I just one day just did in the search bar, Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, just exploded. I'm looking at this video and that video. Oh, here's audio. And I remember the first audio that I heard, it was Sierra sounds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, I've heard that before. Like, I've heard all of that before.
Wow.
Check. Then I was watching something else and someone was like, wood knocks. Check. Rock clacking. Check. Growls. Check. I mean, I'm like, holy crap. I heard all of this back in the late 70s, early 80s. Like when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
What state were you in at the time?
Yeah, I was about to ask what location.
Washington State. So,
okay. East Coast, West Coast, or not West Coast, west part of the state.
West of the Cascades.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
So Mount Rainier, Graham, PL, Yelm, Roy, all those areas,
Mm-hmm.
I used to do a lot of bike riding when I was a teenager, and I would be riding miles and miles and miles on my 10 speed, and like it wasn't just like I'm just going out to ride around the neighborhood. Like I had all my stuff. My dad was my chase vehicle, and I'd go out because I rode like almost 300 miles for the American Diabetes Association when I was like 15. Because my grandmother and my aunt had diabetes. So, so when I say I went out and rode bikes, I went out and rode bikes.
Mm-hmm.
But where I've had encounters, Washington State, Tennessee, and New Jersey, and I believe I've had some in West Virginia when I was young as well. But that was all more vocalizations and hearing stuff being broken in the woods.
Well, I've got a question. You're y'all. I didn't introduce him properly. You told me you were a military brat, moved around a lot.
Yeah,
and you were in the military also,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. When Amanda and I we were talking about it, getting prepared for the show. I was thinking about how tough it is moving from place to place to place. I've heard friends that do that or done it. When you come to a new area, did you immediately start digging into like the history of that area with the sightings or talk to locals?
No, not really, because again, when I had my sighting, and I'll tell you anything you want to know. We can talk about my paranormal stuff if that's what you want to talk about. We'll talk about my Sasquatch stuff for sure. We'll talk about my UFO sighting if you want to. I am an open book. Whatever you guys want to hear, you let me know.
Well, the thing is,
all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, you've had the chance to interview us, and I apologize if we talked a little bit after or before or after the show when we interviewed. I do remember you mentioning about the Sierra sounds that you've heard. But yeah, I'd love to hear, like I said, your story, your background, your it's like start from the beginning, your first, experience and go from there.
So I'm going to elaborate on what you said, Roger, a little bit about, moving here, moving there. So yeah, I moved more because my parents were divorced. Okay. I did not have an easy peasy upbringing. Like I just didn't, if I had a step parent, both my parents were married 4 times. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 2 stepdads. My mom was married to my dad, and she was married before my dad. So, and then she had two other husbands. The last one was an amazing person. He's tattooed on my arm. And I lost him when he was 60 years old. So, I got to have him in my life for 20 years because he came around when I was 10. So, but whenever one step parent got PO'd at me, didn't like me because I was very defiant,
Mm.
then I would be shipped off to my other parent. But
Damn.
I primarily lived with my dad. But because my dad was the hub, Washington State was where I always say that's my home state. That's where I primarily grew up. That's where I had some amazing just times growing up. But because of my mom, I've lived in Montana, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in Colorado, I've lived in West Virginia, um, Tennessee, Texas. So, I've lived all over. So for me to see and encounter things that I have, that's why, because I've been all over.
Yeah.
Being in the military, going to Texas, going to New Jersey for training, then going over to Germany, then coming back to Wyoming. There's probably 10 states that I haven't seen, maybe 12 states in the United States that I haven't seen.
Mm.
And then when I say, I don't mean passing through them, like I've spent time in those states.
Mhm.
But so in 84, I had just got into it with my first stepdad, moved back. Me and my younger brother moved back to Washington State with my dad. My dad was newly single. And so I knew this was going to be a good time because it's now when it was just us three, we always had a really good time. My dad was very, hands-on. And he bought a plot of land. And when we first got there, we were living like an adult RV park. We were living in a fifth wheel. My dad didn't want us to grow up in that environment. We didn't know what was going to happen. So he went out and he got a good deal on 5 acres of land. And when he first showed it to us, it was like crazy. I'm telling you guys, close your eyes and I'll describe it to you and you're going to feel like you're right there. Our property was about 3/4 of a mile, if not a mile down a gravel road. And when he turned in, my dad had cleared out about 1/4 of an acre and everything else, woods, pine trees, indigenous trees, there were huge stumps of old growth trees that were cut down or had fallen down in this area. And so you'd have the red huckleberries bushes growing from them. We had blackberries, salmon berries, just so many things. And I'm a 12-year-old kid. And this is my playground. And I'm seeing things for the first time. I'd never seen a porcupine. There's a porcupine. I literally watched a porcupine walk through pretty much our front yard, go down our little driveway, go across the gravel road, and then off into the woods across the gravel road. Never seen a porcupine in my life. I thought that was the most amazing thing.
I haven't seen one yet, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Saw a bobcat for the first time. Thought that was first I thought it was a cat. And then when I tried to walk up to it, it turned around and I was like, that's not a cat. And then it took off running.
Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog? But I mean, it was like seriously, it was an amazing place to grow up. So, my dad had moved the fifth wheel over there. He had put it on cement blocks, had strapped it down, anchor straps, in case sometimes you get some pretty powerful winds coming through there, windstorms, whatever. So my dad, didn't want anything to happen. Earthquake, tornado, I don't know, but he was just always thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one night we were having this crazy storm, just an absolute banana-like type storm. I mean, every time the wind blew and the thunder cracked, it felt like the camper was just shaking like this, right? And flashes of lightning and the rain hitting. If anybody's been in a camper while it's pouring down rain, it's one of the most relaxing sounds you'll ever have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm nodding off. And I slept, if you're looking directly at the fifth wheel, and if anybody doesn't know what a fifth wheel is, it's like a camper. You pull it behind a truck, but you have to have a hitch to pull it. And it has like a little loft that goes like up over the bed of the truck. And so my brother and I slept up in this loft area. If you're looking at it, I slept on the right-hand side nearest the woods, and my brother slept on the other side, the left side where the deck was. And his window was like right where the steps were coming up onto the deck that my dad had built onto this or next to this to our camper. And I'm just nodding off, and it feels all of a sudden I hear this crack of thunder, but it doesn't sound like a crack of thunder, and then it feels like our camper is going like this, and then it just slams down, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And I pull this little curtain back, and I look, and a flash of lightning just at the right time, just boom, and it just brights up the entire sky. And I see this large thing walk underneath this tree limb and off into the woods.
Oh
Now
my goodness.
it wasn't like nonchalant going. I mean, it was in a rush to get out of there, right? And I'm like, "Dad, there's a GD Bigfoot out there." And my dad woke up. He's like, "Don't say that. You wake your brother up." And my brother, he could sleep through a bomb. Like legit. You could
He slept through all of it. Oh, gracious.
he slept through the entire thing. And so he's like, "Wasn't I?" I go, "Dad, it was. I saw it. I saw it." He's like, "You did not. You didn't see nothing. Now go to sleep. Go to sleep before I come up there." And so I lay back down, but I'm not, man. I've got that window open. I know, and I'm just kind of looking and looking. And finally, I went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, and it had rained all night. I think it rained like total like 9 hours. So the ground was just saturated. And so I go outside and I go to looking, and you could kind of see where something had kind of moved through, but you're not going to get a track. Now, hindsight's 2020. If I could go back at this age, back to that time, I'd have looked at tree branches. I would have looked to see if there's hair hanging from them. But again, I'm 12 years old, and so my dad comes out. I go, I probably went outside probably around like 11 o'clock noon, and my dad comes out. And I'm like, Dad, come over here. It's right here. It's right here. He's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "It went underneath this limb." And he's like, "What do you mean it went?" I said, "Dad, that Bigfoot." He's like, "You didn't see a Bigfoot." I'm like, "Yes, I did." And he's like, "Okay, well, how high?" I go, "Its head almost touched that branch." And he's like, what do you mean? I go, "Dad, it was like this far away from the branch." And so he goes over and pulls out a tape measure, and he starts taping it up. And he goes, "There is no way what you saw. There's no way. It was not this." I go, "Dad, I'm telling you, it was that big." He's like, "Daniel, this is like almost 9 feet tall."
Gracious.
And I go, "Dad, I saw it." And he's like, "Okay, well, let's go find some tracks." So again, we looking through, we didn't see anything. You could, like I said, see where something had moved through, but it was it just downpoured almost all night. So anything was possible of being found was washed away, or so distorted it you couldn't really tell what it was. So I got my first taste of Sasquatch when I was a small kid, like maybe 6, 7, maybe 8. I remember seeing the Patterson Gimlin film In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy during library time at school. I'd be that one kid. I would run to this one section, and it was like mythology and myths and all this type of stuff. And there was one book, just one book, and it had Bigfoot in it. It had the Abominable Snowman. They had Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. They had a couple other things in there, but I didn't really want to bother with any of that stuff. I just wanted to read about Bigfoot, right? And and then seeing all this, and they say it was in California and all, and so I'm like, okay, so there's no way that it's going to be up here in Washington State. Deep inside, I'm hoping it would be. It could possibly be in Oregon for sure, but it's definitely in Northern California, 100%, right? So I'm like, all right. So now I see this, and now I'm starting to think. So not too long after that happened, and again, I want to say it was right around spring break. We had spent the weekend or part of the week down in Tacoma with my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. And as we were coming back, we were probably coming back between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. And on the main road, right where the gravel road and the main road meet, there's a street light, like a telephone pole with a big light on it, right? And so we pull off the road, and when we come off the main road, the gravel road kind of slopes down a little bit, levels out, and then a little ways down, it comes up like a little small rise. Then it levels out again. Then it goes back down this little dip, kind of goes straight for a little bit. It kind of does that like 2 or 3 times before you get to where now the road is just a straight road. And why it was like that, I don't know. But then you turned into where we lived. So as we turn off, my dad's headlights, of course, they dip down. And when they dip down, I catch eye shine. Like way up on the road on the passenger side. And I'm sitting in the front seat of the car. And I go, Dad, did you see that? I saw some eye shine. He's like, oh, no, I didn't see it. I said, turn your brights on. And he's like, no. He goes, if it saw our headlights, it's going to move. It's probably just a deer, right? Now, he had put some driving lights or fog lights, something. They were bright. And instead of having them forward and kind of angled down to sweep out in front of the road further out, he had them angled out as far as he could so he could see the sides of the road. Because in here, there were deer everywhere. They were everywhere. And so he didn't want a deer to hit his car. He had a really nice Mustang, so he didn't want to have a deer blast the side of his Mustang or something. So as we're driving, we come up the rise, as we level out a little bit. I go, Dad, it's still there. It's right there. Did you see that? He's like, yeah, I saw something up there. He goes, yeah, but for sure it's going to see our lights. It's going to hear us coming. It's going to get off the road. Then we go back down the dip. Straighten out, come back up this rise. And I go, Dad, turn your brights on. I bet you it's still there. So as we come up back on that rise, he hits these lights. He hits these driving fog lights, whatever, and the brights on his car. And it lights the whole area up. And there she was. She was squatted partially down, and she stood up. And when she started standing up, you guys, I didn't think that she was going to stop standing up. She just kept going and going and going. And when my dad did, and it wasn't like she was slowly, she just went straight up, but it was like all in slow motion. And she
like time slows down almost.
Yeah. And in all actuality, this me having the visual on her from the first time I saw her to the last time I saw her when I looked out the passenger window and she was standing in the wood line was maybe 5-6 seconds top. But this thing seemed like it was forever. And she turned her torso like this to block the lights, saw the whole palm of her hand, saw the hair coming off of her forearm, saw her face. She had breasts, did have hair. It wasn't super thick hair up in the chest area. The best description I can give you is she looked like Patty-esque, I should say. She wasn't as robust as Patty was, and her head was not quite shaped like Patty's. She had the brow ridge. She had a nose similar to ours, but it was bigger. It's just everything about this was bigger. And if anybody's ever listened to any of my earlier stories about this, I've told this story now probably 15, 20 times, and I've thought about it each and every time. Certain little details start popping back up. It's like I'm getting total recall almost.
It's like your brain all of a sudden starts picking those little pieces back up.
Exactly. Like, oh, you put this in this box. Let's pull this out and put this back into this place.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
So what color was the hair and then the exposed skin? What color was that you best remember?
The hair, she was like a darker charcoal color, and the skin appeared to be black. It looked like it was black, and I'm almost 100% to say that it was. I'm like 99.999% sure that it was black, because I remember like a sheen, like on the and it looked like leather.
Yeah,
and the
the light from the vehicle made it give like a shiny texture to it.
Yep. And I remember because when she went like this, now I didn't see her teeth, but for some reason somehow her upper lip was accentuated.
Mhm.
Like, for some reason, that just stuck out to me because she had like a thin. Have you seen people have like a thin upper lip, but then like a regular size? I don't understand it.
Right.
I don't understand it. I didn't see the whites of any eyes. Now, when she did this and she turned back around, she kind of like swung her leg around. And that when she started doing that, I didn't know what she was going to do. So I just ducked into the floorboard of the car.
Mhm.
And then again, this seemed like it was 35, 40 minutes long as we drove by. Now, my dad did not increase his speed. He did not speed up. He did not slow down. It was just a steady speed. And when I thought we were past her, again, the angle of my dad's lights, it still had some residual light, so you can kind of see it.
Right.
I peeked my head up and I saw her. And she was standing inside the tree line, not like way back. Like there might have been, I don't know, 4 or 5 trees in front of her that she was kind of concealing herself. But I watched her blink her eyes twice.
Hmm.
And we kept going. Now, the area between the edge of the gravel road and the tree line, maybe 20 feet, if that. And it like in seconds, she had to have taken 1, 2, maybe, probably 2 or 3 steps, and she was into the woods.
Hmm.
I didn't see her walk into the woods. I'm assuming that's how many it took. We were about 200 yards, 200 feet. Again, I want to say more 200 feet from where our driveway was. So we pulled in. I didn't even give my dad a chance to stop the car. I had my house keys in my hand. I was opening the passenger side door, and I stepped out of a moving car.
Oh my goodness.
And I took off running. So door opens up. I step out. I run back around the back of the car and jump up over the 4 steps leading up to the deck, unlock the front door, and jump in. A couple seconds later, I hear my dad. I hear his door slam. He's carrying my little brother. Puts my little brother up on his bed, comes back down. He's not saying a word. I'm going, Dad, what was that? What was that? He didn't want saying a word to me.
Hmm.
Starts getting food, fruits, vegetables, takes him outside, puts him on a table that we had on the deck. Now, this is a big deck. This deck was probably 3/4 of the length of the camper and probably 2 or 3 times as wide as the camper. Because we would have like barbecues out there. We'd have people come over. And my dad was an avid bird watcher. So he had a long pole, I don't know, 18, 20 feet tall. And on top of that, he had a platform attached to it. I don't know how he attached it. But that platform was going to be the base of a bird feeder. So he could sit on the stairs of our camper and look out this little side window and take pictures of birds as they came in. So he goes out, puts all this food on a table, gets a ladder out of the shed, comes back, and I'm kind of watching all this now. He takes this ladder, he puts it up, climbs up the ladder, takes the food, puts all the food up on this platform, gets down, takes the ladder down, walks into the house, I'm asking him, and he's still not saying anything to me. Opens up the beneath the sink, pulls out a rag and squirts what I later learned was grease. And he started putting this grease all along this pole. And now I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, Dad, why did you put that on the pole? And he's like, so no animals will get that food. And I go, oh, you mean like raccoons? And he's like, yeah, raccoons. Now, what I had just seen 15, 20, 30 minutes earlier, that was front and foremost in my mind. But then when my dad goes, yeah, raccoons, for some reason, that completely took my mind off of what had just happened. Right? So I'm like, those damn raccoons better not get that food, because I'm not realizing my dad's, now I know what it is. He was giving them an offering. Okay? He puts this up there. So he comes back in and I go, Dad, what did we see? And he goes, you know what we saw. You You know exactly what we saw. And I go, that was a Bigfoot. He was Dad, it was a Bigfoot. And he's like, yes, it was a Bigfoot.
So you think, was that the first time he'd ever seen anything like that? Or you think he had?
Stand by. I'll tell you. Hold on.
That was my next question too. Yeah.
So he comes in. My dad was a smoker. He never smoked in the camper. He'd always smoke outside. And he left the door cracked a little bit. So I'm eavesdropping, and I hear my dad saying something like, you know, we saw you. We know you saw us. Listen, everything up there, and again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of, that's up there is all yours. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want you to scare. These are my boys. We're a family. We don't want to hurt anybody. Please don't scare my boys. Please don't hurt my boys. That's up there. That's for you. And he comes back in, and I go, Dad, who are you talking to? And he's like, I was praying. And I go, well, I didn't hear you say amen. And he goes, well, amen. So now I'm going to tell you right now, in all of my life, I lost my dad in 2014. So from the time I could comprehend my dad talking to 2014, I've never known my dad to pray a day in his life. So I know my dad wasn't praying. My dad was talking to these things. So he comes back in and he's like, I'm still on his bed. And he's like, do you want to sleep? Do you want to sleep with me? Or do you want to sleep in my bed? And I go, yeah. And, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll tell you that in a second. I'll tell about that part. Yeah, I'll tell him in a second. So, he's like, do you want to sleep with me tonight? I go, yeah, please. Can I? He goes, you all right? I'm like, yeah. So I jump, I'm already in his bed. So I used to make myself comfortable. He goes in, takes a shower, comes in his pajama bottoms, and we're talking, and I'm like, Dad, he goes like, yeah, he goes, I go, Dad, is it going to get us? He's like, no. He goes, everything's going to be okay. Trust me, everything's going to be fine. Something like that. And so where I'm sleeping again on the side where the wall is closest to the woods, where I saw that GD Sasquatch, Bigfoot, try to tip our camper over, right? And so I'm laying on my side, so I kind of got like my shoulder and my back leaned up against this. And I remember, and I want to say it was between 1 and 2 in the morning. I can't remember the exact time. Anybody in the chat or you two, I'm sure you've heard at one time something very heavy stepping on wood, or something very heavy being placed on wood. And so it cracks and it pops and it moans. You hear these noises of something extremely heavy stepping onto the deck. And you hear the wood just not happy with it. And that wakes me up immediately. I can still see a little bit because my dad had an alarm clock. That was a big alarm clock, so it let off a little light. And I look at my dad. My dad's like this.
Oh, wow. So he's already heard it.
He's already awake. And he's like this. And when I get ready to ask him something, I feel and hear something run right by that wall that I'm laying up against. And then I hear the wood protesting again because something else is walking up on the deck. And I'm looking at my dad, and he's like, be quiet, And I'm sitting there, and I know I'm crying. Again, you guys, this is like 41 years ago. I know I'm crying. I know I'm scared. I'm trying to become like a pajama top to my dad. I'm trying to like become part of my dad. I know I'm scared. And then I hear something, again, this is going to be a real bad representation, but I hear something like this. I hear, I hear something like that. And now I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, you guys.
Yeah, you're reliving it right now, Dan. I wish I could hug you through the camera, but yeah, keep going because this is amazing. and terrifying.
I know, and I'm getting a little emotional right now because my dad is so cool. Like, he's so calm. And I just sit there to hold him. And I know I probably fell asleep crying, right? The window on the door was kind of like a bathroom window. So you can't see through it either direction, but light can come through. Okay. I see the sun coming through this window. Now, it's not the window my dad would look out. This is the one on the door. So I get up and I go to the door. Now, I've always been a daredevil until I got common sense. And so the deck was super high. You got to look, anybody who's gone up into a camper, it's like what, a 3-foot step, 3 feet from the ground to where you step up without a ladder. So my dad had that deck at level with that. And then he had like another 4-foot railing that was all around the deck. So I climb up on this railing. So I'm easily 7 feet off the ground. And I can see that platform. And there's absolutely nothing up there that I can see. And so I jump off. My dad hears me jump off. He comes out and he's like, were you on that railing? I go, Dad, it's all gone. The food is all gone. They took all the food. And he's like, what? I go, Dad, the food's all gone. Now, while I'm telling him this, I walk over to the pole, and I can see where something has grabbed this pole in multiple locations. And you guys, I hate to ask you, I got to go to the restroom real quick. Can we
go?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
right, cool. Yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, take a minute.
Hey, and see, just what he's talking about. We lived in a double wide for a while, where I saw that one, and a lot of times when I tell my story, I say house, but that came along later. There's a house there now. But after I saw that, I used to love to sleep up against the wall as a kid, and I started scooting more towards the middle of the bed because the walls of a trailer, they're not that thick.
No, they're not very thick. And
but
oh man,
it sounds like his daddy had either
yeah,
known
I
about
definitely want
these
to
or seen them
pick
before.
his brains some more about what his daddy knew, because it sounds like, obviously he was feeding them and, knew stuff about it already. There's
Right.
something was up,
Or had some Native American friends that told him if he had something happen, this is what you should do. You know what I mean? Because that's not common knowledge, right? Back then,
That is
especially.
true. Yeah, that is very true. And he's back. There he is.
There he is. But as a dad wanting to protect your kids, first off, you
That
don't
was
want
what
them to
I was
panic.
thinking, just trying to think, of the dad as well. You said going into full dad mode there.
No.
You guys, I apologize. That's so unprofessional of me, but
Who's professional here?
Yeah.
I try to
My
be.
cat's wandering around behind the screen right now. You can't see it, so
My
we're
dogs
not
are trying to kill each
professional
other in
here.
another room. I don't know.
But so I start looking at this pole, and I can see where something had been grabbing this pole in multiple locations. And I'm like, oh, that's, people are like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. And I thought it was cool too. 1984 in Graham, Washington. This is what I thought was the coolest. Something, I'm just going to say a Bigfoot, because we saw it earlier.
Right.
Had taken its finger and wiped it all the way down the pole.
Oh, wow.
And then wiped the grease off of its finger onto the railing.
Oh my goodness, wow. So from the very top all the way down to the
Yep.
ground? Oh, wow.
To where the pole and the railing was, because it was fastened on the backside
I
of
got you, yeah, so
where the
where it
railing
would've
was.
ran into it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So from where it ran into it all the way, that it was all the way down. What's up, Wyatt? But so I show my dad this, and he's like, don't say nothing to your brother. Don't say nothing to him. Don't tell him nothing, because my dad didn't want to frighten my brother.
Yeah, how much younger was your brother than you at the
2
time?
years. So I was
2 years?
about 12. I was 12 and he was 10.
Okay.
And so we were like, I was like, okay, this is super cool. And I said, okay, I won't tell him. And so I didn't say anything to him. And so I'm like, okay. So that was like spring break. So probably around June, because I remember we were out of school. We're at the camper and we're just hanging out. My brother's playing. I remember it was a Saturday because my dad had to do inventory at his job, so he had to go in on Saturday to do it. And we're sitting into the in the house in the camper, and he's playing. I'm watching him play Atari 2600. Okay, and he was just going crazy. And so I'm like, I hear my dad's car pull up, and I hear him get out, and he slams the door, and he's like, well, what the F? What the hell happened over here? And I hear him come walking up onto the deck, and I'm like, he's like, opens the door, and he's like, Daniel, where's the burn barrel? And I go, what do you mean, where's the burn barrel? I didn't burn any trash today.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you do with it? I go, what do you mean, what'd I do with it? Well, did you move it? I go, Dad, I weigh like 100 pounds. I'm not going to move a 55-gallon drum that has, because he had taken some like playground sand and dumped it in the bottom of this barrel so it wouldn't tip over or whatever. And I'm like, I can't move that. And he's like, well, someone moved it. What the hell happened to it? And I go, Dad, how do I know? So we go out, and I go, what happened to the burn barrel? He's like, that's what I'm asking you. What happened to the burn barrel? And so he starts looking around, and for some reason, something just pulled me to the woods where I saw that one walk into the woods.
Mm-hmm. The female from earlier?
No, the one that like hit our camper.
Oh, okay, that one. Gotcha.
So let me go back to that real quick. So when we went out and looked the next morning, right, we didn't see anything, and I told my dad it was this big. When we turned around, there was a massive dent on the side of the fifth wheel. How there were no holes in the side of this fifth wheel, I don't know. Two of the anchoring straps that my dad had were completely pulled up out of the ground, and some of the cement blocks were crushed from when the camper come slamming back down on it. So fast forward back to that June, we're looking for the burn barrel. I walk into the woods, and I get in there about 30 feet maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what I find? I find the burn barrel laying on its side, like something had thrown it into the woods. And so I go, Dad, I found the burn barrel. And he's like, well, how in the hell did it get over here? I go, Dad, I don't know. I knew who it was. It's that damn Bigfoot. That's what it was. And he's like, stop saying that. I go, Dad, it was that damn Bigfoot. And he's like, stop saying that. I go, okay, it was the Bigfoot. It was the Bigfoot. And so we moved it back. We had to move it like we just couldn't pick it up. We had to like turn it like we're turning a big wheel, and we get it over there and we set it back in. And he just kind of looked at me, and I go, Dad. And then my brother comes around. He goes, oh, what are you talking about? Or something like don't tell, because I think my dad said, don't tell your brother. And my brother came around. He's like, don't tell me what or what, And I go, Bobby, look what the Bigfoot did. It threw, and my dad, whack, and he slapped me up in the back of the head. And he goes, what? I go, the Bigfoot, it took the burn barrel and threw it in the woods. And my brother goes like straight face, and he goes, well, I don't think it was one of the smaller ones that I've seen.
Oh, wow.
And then so me and my dad were like, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I've seen two smaller ones. And we're like, what do you mean you've seen two smaller ones? When? He goes, well, when we put the speakers out on the deck and we listen to music, we sit out there, we play games or something, or whatever. He goes, I've seen them. I've seen them a couple times. They'll come in from over here and they'll go around the edge of the woods and they'll sit down right over there by those trees. And because the trees were they had lower limbs, so they would like get underneath there, I guess, and kind of sit so they can kind of see, get a better view or whatever, stay hidden. And he goes, I don't think they would have done it. They're too small to throw that into the woods. And we're like, how long have you seen him? He goes, oh, I've seen him, almost like around the first times we first got here. So he'd been seeing him for a lot longer than I had just seen that female,
Oh, wow.
And then I started, of course, I'm sure I told him, well, guess what we saw, this and this. And he's like, no way. And I'm sure that's a conversation that we had, but I don't really recall ever having it. But as close as I was to my little brother, I know we talked about it a lot. So he said, yeah, I've even thrown a couple of my balls out there to him. And then I go out there to see if I can find him. And he goes, I never found him again. Like they would take the ball and just do whatever they want with it. We had built a tree fort, and it was about 100 feet into the woods, and it was right off of a trail. We had kind of made a path, and it was kind of like went in this way, then it kind of went this way, kind of went around, and then it kind of just dead ended right in that area. But it was like 10 feet from this path. It's 15 feet up in the air. And there'd been times, where I was walking out there and he would be following me, and I just stop. I get like 10 feet into the woods and I just stop. I'm like, man, he's like, yeah, we need to get back to the house. So we would just turn around. He even said one time he saw one jump out of the door of our treehouse, land on the ground, and it doesn't even it's like it jumped and just boom, took off. Like it jumped and ran. Like there was no landing, getting itself together, and then taking off. It was like a jump and run right all in one motion.
Yeah, wow.
There have been times where this happened on 2 occasions. We were up in the treehouse and we'd been up there maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I look at my brother and he looks at me, and all we had to do was nod. Yep, it's time to go. And I remember, a couple of times I'd look out the little window that we had there, and I'd seen this massive thing behind some trees, probably about 70 feet away. And I never got a real good look at its face, but it was massive. Bigger than the one I saw run off into the woods, and bigger than the female that I saw. And so I'm guessing that was the dad. I believe till the day that I die, we had a family living there in that area.
Sounds like it.
Female, the mom, the two little ones, the 2 juveniles, the one that hit the camper, I want to say was like the older brother. If I had to put an age on it, like humans, probably like between 19 and 22.
Yeah.
So someone had talk about the brush and debris. So my dad, like I said, he'd cleared out area. He had everything laid out like a floor plan because he was going to build an A-frame home. He wanted to use some of the logs that were from that property in the construction of this home. And we didn't have a lot of this equipment. We had chainsaws, we had axes, things like that, but you'd need heavy equipment to move some of these logs. And so he would rent, boys, don't plan on anything. You're going to help. I got friends coming over, and we're going to move stuff. We're going to cut a couple trees down. Now my dad just didn't go crazy and started cutting all these trees down. He selected specific trees. My dad was raised in Alaska. He was raised around the Haidas and the Tlinkits, which are native tribes up in Alaska. He was very in tune with the land. Every time we would hunt, You know, I'd watch my dad walk up to the animal that he just shot, and he'd put his hand on it and he'd say a prayer. It'd be like, "Thank you for sacrificing yourself so we can sustain. I'm sorry I had to take your life, but you will be sustaining other people's lives. I thank you so much." And you know, it was very respectful, and I get goosebumps because it gets me emotional because it just shows me how much my dad was awesome. You know, but
Yeah.
there'd be times where my dad would come home and he'd be like, "How did those 2 logs get over to the pile of logs that are over there?" He goes, "Did you do this?" And I go, "Dad, think about it. I'm 12. Bobby's 10. Together, we probably weigh 210 pounds together. There's no way we're going to move like a 12-foot long log that's probably that big around and place it over there." So I'm not saying they did it, but who else is going to move like a 1,200-pound log and place it over there? So I'm guessing that they would help out, and there'd be times that my dad would put more stuff out there on that platform, and they would leave things like handful of blackberries one time, a dead raccoon, feathers, like polished rocks, like look like polished, like real shiny rocks, a blue marble. Where are you going to get a blue marble in the middle of the woods? We had a blue marble put up on that platform for us.
Odd question with the raccoon. Do you remember? It was deceased, but was it fresh or had it been
No,
there a while? Was it mummified?
It was fresh because when my dad took it off, it was like limp.
It was still limp.
So rigor mortis hadn't set in. So that thing was probably either at an hour or a little over an hour old when it was put up there. So
what's interesting, Daniel, we hear stories a lot, and people that live in the areas and all that. And while you were gone to the restroom, I asked Amanda, I wonder if his dad had any Native American friends where he had advice given to him and all that. And when you said that, I'm like, because that's not normal knowledge that just anybody would have,
Yeah.
And so the offering, and the making of peace, the talking to them, and all that, a lot of people that's in this chat or whatever, is the first time maybe they're watching or hearing, might think that's nuts. But one of the common themes with people who have to live in an area with them, when they get to that point where they either accidentally make peace with them or do something like your dad did, to kind of communicate, forms of communication. And it's when you have something like a raccoon brought back and put on that platform where y'all have been, we'll say gifted, for lack of a better word, to them. That's if you found a freshly dead raccoon in the yard, that's no big deal. But if you find it on the platform your dad made to put their stuff, to me, that speaks volumes more.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, one thing that my dad, and I never understood this until later, my dad never chewed tobacco. And I'm not talking snus that you put in your lip. I'm talking like Red Man or Beech Nut or a plug of tobacco where you'd have to cut a piece off and you'd stick it in and you'd chew on it. I remember my dad putting plugs of tobacco up there as well, and they would be gone.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, it's just, it amazes me on some of the things, but so, there'd be times, like I said, there'd be large piles of brush that we would burn, but we'd have to move from one place to another. Sometimes those piles would be over on one bigger pile, and so, it's just crazy. My dad and I and my little brother, we built a go-kart. It was a 2-seater go-kart, had big knobby tires on it, and had a pretty fast engine on it for a go-kart. And we would zip up and down this gravel road. We would ride it through the woods where we knew we could ride it through with no problem. And I remember a couple times my brother would be sitting next to me and he'd be like, I just saw her. And there'd be times where I'd whip my head around real quick and you could see something move back into the trees. And I just believe that she was just kind of keeping tabs on us, like, okay, what are these kids doing?
Right.
I think my brother had a really good relationship with the two juveniles, even though he never really saw them like I saw the female. He had a better interaction with them than I did. I mean, he actually interacted with the juveniles. I didn't have any interactions with, the female or anything like that. But it just lets me think that if the dad was not there and the mom was not there, that young adult would have definitely terrorized us. Because
Go ahead. I want to address the question here.
Sure.
Leanne's asking a good question. Explain why it means more if they put it on the platform. I'm clueless, I guess. No, you're not. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because any three of us could take this. When we look at, like, when we talked to Kane the other night, y'all have heard Kane talk a lot about his research, and when something shows a little more level of intelligence than a normal animal, like you could have a cat bring you a rat or a possum or something, or a dog, dig it up and whatever. But this spot that his dad made was a gifting spot for them, and he talked to them and he offered things to them. That spot was especially for that. So when he found those things put up there, it was an acknowledgement, like, hey, we understand, this is a peace offering or whatever. It's a form of communication that just a regular dog or cat or whatever. I've had smart dogs and they will bring you gifts and leave it on the porch.
Yeah.
So
now that spot was not intended to be a gifting spot. Like I said, it was intended to be a platform for a bird feeder that he was building.
Okay.
So he could watch birds come in. My dad had thousands of pictures of birds. My dad was so into birds that he would hear one and, oh, that's this, or, oh, that's that, or, oh, they must be migrating because you normally don't see them here at this time of year. So I'm like, what are you, what are you doing? And then someone put the time frame, what span? Yeah, that's of this happened. So we moved in the area before my eighth grade started. So I want to say it was like August of 83, and then I had my sighting in like March of, oh no, I had that encounter in March, and then I want to say it was spring break, so probably around like April that we had that my sighting. So after all that pretty much happened, October of that year, my dad was involved. October 25th, he was involved in a really, really bad accident. He was almost killed. His car, the one that he had we saw it in, it flipped end over end once and rolled 3 times. He was ejected out of the car.
Oh my
and when
God.
he stood up, the third roll of the car hit him in his shoulder and completely tore his clavicle and shoulder and everything. He was bad. The state patrol that showed up at the hospital asked my dad if he had a seatbelt on, and he goes, "No, sir, I didn't." He's like, "Good thing, because if you did, you would have been dead." Because his headrest and his seat were buried about 7 inches into the ground, and he would have been dead. But so I get a call from my dad. He had the person that stopped for him, said, "You need to take me to work. I'm going to be late for work." She took him to work. And I get a call from my dad at work, like 4 a.m, because we're already up. We got to get ready to go to school because we had a long rural bus route. So our bus ride was almost 2 hours. So we had to go out there and walk down that long, dark gravel road. And when I say dark, you could put your hand in front of your face and you still would not see it. And we never walked it. We always ran it because we felt like we were being chased, watched, paced, whatever, escorted, wherever you want to call it, until we got to that light. And then that light was like safety. But anyway, he calls me, says he's in a bad car accident. I asked him if he's okay. He said he's on the way to the hospital. Your aunt's going to come and pick you up. So about 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, she shows up. We have all our stuff packed up, and we lock the door. Okay. That following spring, so spring of 85, we go back out because my dad could not work. He didn't work for about 6 months, and he lost the property. So he sold the camper. The people were going to come out and take the camper, and he said, we'll go out there, we'll get out everything out that, and we didn't have a lot. But when we went out there, everybody's in the camper moving around, and I was just walking around the place, I was super excited, this, for once, we were going to have something,
Yeah.
And I noticed something, that on every single window, it looked like something was doing this, trying to look through the curtains. And it makes me kind of sad because here we are, we're here that whole time, we're there every day, and now we're not there. And we're not there the next day. We're not there over the winter. And I think they were curious to see what happened to us.
They were checking in.
And that spring, that was the last time that I ever laid eyes on that property, personally. Now, I've gotten on Google Maps and Google Earth and looked at it. I couldn't tell you what the address was, but there's more houses there now. It's not like housing developments, but there's a lot more houses. Because I think when we were there was like one house over here on the right side of the road, and then there's like you go up about halfway down the road, and there was another like turnoff that went down, and there were two houses off of that one. And so there was like, and they weren't super close to us, but now there's so many more houses. I think there's like a garage that someone like fixes trucks or something out of, that's built up there. And so, yeah, that's my sighting. That's the only time I've ever seen one. But prior to that, I've had, I had my boot untied while I was sitting in a deer stand. My dad took me out to this place called the hunting camp, and he takes me out there. He wants to kind of acclimate me to sitting in a deer stand. I'm like 7 years old, something like that. He wants me to, he grew up hunting with his dad. He wants me to do the same thing. See, and I love hunting, by the way. But so we sit up in this deer stand. We get to the place where we're going to camp. Me, my uncle, and my dad, and we set up camp. We kind of just do nothing for the first day that we're there. The next day we get up in the morning, like early in the morning, but not so early where you can't see. So you still kind of, there's a little bit, it's that time before darkness and light. You know what I'm saying? And so he takes me out to the deer stand. He showed it to me the day before. So we walk out there, and I climb up, and I have his knapsack. I pull it up with this little rope. He unloads his rifle, and hooks it onto this rope. So before I can get to it, he's already up, and he starts pulling the rifle up, and we're sitting down, and I'm sitting on the right side or the left side of the bench that's on this deer stand. My dad's sitting over here, and he's messing with his knapsack. He's looking in there. He's like, oh man, I can't remember what he said he forgot. He said he forgot something. And he's like, listen, I'm going to go back down to camp. And then we're like a half a mile away from camp. And he's like, stay here. You're completely fine. There's nothing out here that's going to mess with you. You're good to go. Okay. Now, I want to say this is before I saw the Patterson-Gimlin film, before I saw In Search Of. So I had no clue what Bigfoot was. No clue. No knowledge of it at all. And so I watched my dad go out, walk, and he starts walking down the trail. And I'm sitting on the left side. I got my foot kind of hanging over a little bit, and I'm just kind of watching and watching and watching. And this is where I learned one of the greatest things you could learn while hunting. And I'm telling you, and I'll argue to the day I die with anybody that wants to argue with me on this. I learned how to take a nap at a very odd position.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm I'm leaning up against a tree, and I'm kind of getting comfortable, and it's getting a little lighter, and my chin starts kind of going down. And just as I get to that spot of where you're getting ready to fall asleep,
Mm-hmm.
my left foot jerks. And I'm thinking that my body's jerking because I'm falling asleep. And I look down, and my boot's untied. My left boot is untied. And I'm like, what? Well, maybe I got caught on part of the wood down there.
Yeah.
So I go and I tie it up. And it's a little lighter now. And I'm kind of looking around. I can kind of see the sun come up just a little bit. I'm hearing noises and stuff. And I start getting heavy-eyed again. So I kind of get in like this, real nice and tight. And I start just getting to that position again. And boom, my foot jerks again. And I'm like, what the hell is that? I go down and look. And sure enough, my boot is untied again. And I'm like, Dad, that's not funny. Right? And I'm screaming, stop trying to scare me. So now I'm looking at my boot. I tied it up, and I am looking at my boot. And now it's lighter. It's like I can see every single thing around me as clear as day. And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and I hear the loudest crack or snap or whatever come from my right side. I mean, it is loud. And I snap my head over to look, and my foot jerks again.
Oh, wow.
And my boot's untied again. And I stand up, and I'm like, you're not. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. You're not funny. Stop trying to scare me. And I look out, and I see my dad sprinting up this trail. Now, the trail came up like this. So the trail came up, and then it leveled out. It kind of just had a gradual, then it kind of leveled out. So we had to go down this trail. It wasn't like a straight trail. You had to wind down through some stuff. And I'm freaking out. And he comes, he's like, shut up. What the hell are you screaming about? You're going to scare deer. You're not going to see anything. Shut up. And I'm like, Dad, you untied my boot. You did it. He goes like, what are you talking about? I go, you untied my boot. And he's like, whoa. What are you talking about? Son, I did not untie your boot. I go, yes, you did. You did it 3 times. And he's like, my middle name's Anthony. So he calls me Tony. He's like, Tony, I did not untie your boot. I go, Dad, then who untied my boot? I go, I was this, and I was getting ready to take a nap, and I felt my foot move, and then I hear this long crack over here, and he's like, whoa, slow down. So I'm still hysterical. He calms me down, and he's like, hold on a second here. He's like, stay in the stand. So he goes out behind, and I'm standing up, holding the tree, and I'm looking around behind me. Mm-hmm. And he's behind now, right behind the stand. There's 2 game trails that come in, and they intersect about 20 to 25, maybe 30 feet in front of the deer stand. One goes down this hill that there's a stream down here that it goes down to. The other one goes like it's going to go towards the trail that we came to come up, but then it goes up and over to the left, like back up over this way. And then there's like a small clearing that's behind before you get a whole thing of trees. And I go and I'm watching my dad, and he goes back and he's kind of looking, and he bends down and he kind of touches something on the ground. Then he stands back up, and he starts walking back towards the wood line. And he gets about, I don't know, 15, 20 feet from the trees. And he unslings his rifle.
Hmm.
And that's a 30-30 Marlin lever action. And he's now at the ready with it. And he's like, Tony, get out of the tree. Get out of the stand. So I'm like, Dad, he's like, I said, get out of the damn stand. And like, he snaps at me. So I get out of the stand and I'm standing there. He goes, like, go back to camp. He goes, run. I'll be right behind you. Run back to camp.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm thinking, what's going on? So he goes and he starts backing up. He's got his rifle at the ready, and I'm still standing there. And he turns around and he goes, I said, get your A back to the effing camp right now. Go. So I take off running. I go a little ways. I see my dad. He's coming towards me. He sees me. And he flips out on me again. He goes, I told you to run. So I'm running. And he's coming up behind me. I'd stop when he stopped, and I'd watch him, and then he'd start turning around. I'd take off running again. I don't know what's going on. So we come down into camp. We come back into camp, and my uncle's there, and he's like putting his gear up and stuff. And my dad just flips out on him. There's my buddy Josh.
Yeah, you're gonna be late for his show.
Oh, we're not doing it. We're not doing it live tonight.
Okay.
But I go, Dad, and he's like, my dad's like, funny, Daryl, good job out there. I'm trying to teach him, and you're out here scaring him, and this and this. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're up there messing with Daniel, weren't you? He's like, no, I wasn't. He goes, I just got back here myself. He goes, man, it's way too warm. We're not going to see anything moving around today. It's too warm. It's just not going to happen. So we pack up and we leave, right? I've always asked my dad, what did you see? And he would never tell me. He just, I had a feeling. Now, so when I was older, after that had happened, I was thinking maybe a cougar or a bear, something like that. Okay. It wasn't until later now that I say this is an encounter, because what else is going to crack something together? What has the dexterity to untie a boot? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. So fast forward a couple of years, we go back to hunting camp. Now it's me, my dad, my brother, my uncle, his friend, 2 of my uncle's neighbors, and 2 of their sons. So it's 4 boys and 5 adults. There's 9 of us there. We all slept in this big, giant, old army tent. You could fit like 16 people in there, right? 16 at least. And we had that all set up. Now, the first night we set everything up. We kind of shot a 22. We did some fishing, and really nothing. The second night we were out there, our second day, again, fishing, goofing off, shooting more guns. That's when we first heard the first like yell or holler or whatever. But it was way, way off in the distance. And I look at my dad and I go, Dad, that was a bear, right? He's like, yeah, I think that was a bear. Okay.
Dad's like, oh yeah, it's totally a bear.
Yeah. So like the third day, we go out, we're goofing off again. We're shooting more guns. Now we break up into groups. My dad, my uncle, and my uncle's friend were all Vietnam veterans. And my dad was a tunnel rat and an EOD specialist. My uncle was the gunner on one of those patrol boats through the Mekong Delta.
Okay.
So he was one of those gunners in the front that had like dual, like twin 50 calibers. So these guys have seen some crazy action.
Well, you know what the problem was, Daniel? He was used to military. If he'd have told you to not run, sit still, you'd have outrun hell to get back to.
Probably.
Like, don't move.
Yeah, small world. My grandpa was in Nam, and he was on the patrol boats, the PT boats that would go up and down the river in the early days of Nam. And he saw some stuff too. He didn't talk about it. So yeah, them boys, they don't scare easy. So for something like that to rattle him up, that's very telling.
And two, being in similar situations, when you have people with you that you care about, it's a little different. Also, he's trying to protect his kid, and if it was him and a couple of his buddies, they probably would have took care of business. You know what I mean? a little different. But when something happens like that, I mean, he would have fought a bear barehanded, to keep you from getting hurt. Man, that's crazy.
Odd question, Dan. With your shoes, were they just regular bow tied, or did you like double knot them or anything?
No, I
like
just
that?
did. At that time, I didn't really know how to do double knots. I could barely tie my own shoes. So
I still don't.
I do. I'm a nerd. That's the only way they'll stay. That's the only way they'll stay.
Yeah, I asked Josh to jump on with us. He said he's been busy. He said
he is burning like 15 candles at both ends. That dude's so busy. He's working like 80 hours a week.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so the third night, we're hanging out and we hear again this yell or holler or whatever, but it's not so far away this time. It's close. So we go to bed and we kind of heard something, got up the next morning and it looked like something had walked through the camp. And again, I wasn't really too keen. I mean, big prints, I'm thinking bears, right? Again, I have no knowledge of what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Go to bed the next night, we eat dinner, and we're laying in bed. And if you walk in the front of the tent, on the right-hand side, it's me, my dad, my brother, my uncle, and on the other side is my uncle's friend, his two neighbors, and their two other boys. And I hear all of this ruckus moving around, and I wake up and I sit up to ask my dad, does he hear that? And my dad's sitting straight up and he's doing one of these numbers. They had this little like light that just gave us a little bit of light inside. I could see my uncle and his friend sitting literally back to back, facing the front and the back side of the tent. And then the other two dads were sitting up and they were just kind of watching around, and they had all the adults had firearms on them. And so now I'm looking and you hear stuff. We had all of our food tied up in trees. We hear those hit the ground. We hear our camp just getting like ransacked. And then I go to say something to my dad, and that's when I heard something run by or walk by pretty quick and dragged its nails. I don't know if they're claws or nails. Run its claws or nails all along this canvas tent, around, like literally right behind my back, around the back side of the tent, on the other side of the tent, and then it was quiet. So I know I didn't go to sleep. I stayed up the entire time. I saw my uncle get up. It was daylight outside. And he goes, Dean, you got to see this. Come on, man. You think I'm not going to want to see what my uncle is calling my dad out to come and look? Dean, come and see this. You're not going to believe it. Well, Daniel, I go flying through the tent. Our tent was our camp was completely destroyed.
Oh my goodness.
It was completely wrecked. Chairs were bent up. All the food was gone. If it was in a can, it was there. Anything that was not in a can was completely gone. Footprints everywhere. You can see footprints going down towards the stream. You can see them coming up from the stream. And we're like, my dad and my uncle and his friend were like, okay, let's go. Tear it down. Get everybody up if they're not already up. Let's go. And we had to like drive like 2 hours from Aberdeen to get to this place, to this logging road. And then we had to walk, like hike in like another hour and a half into the woods. They were using deer sleds to carry all the heavier stuff. Well, they just started taking stuff down and throwing it on whatever sled. We were grabbing whatever and we just went. And as we're going back through, we hear this scream. And this scream felt like it was 50 feet away from us. And now we're moving. My brother is not fast enough. The youngest kid of the other two were not fast enough. They both wound up getting put on a sled, and now they're pulling. They're getting pulled by adults. And now the way the wind, it was the two neighbors, his two kids, my uncle's friend, then me and my brother, and then my dad and my uncle. That's how the lineup was. So the kids were in the center, 2 adults were in the front and the back, and then one was in the middle. And now we're running as fast as we can. We start going up the embankment to this logging road where the 3 trucks were parked.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear my uncle go, "I got one on the left." I hear my dad go, "I got one on the right." I watched my dad and my uncle go from being, and we do this, and this is what we do, and you guys having fun. They went from being having a good time to being serious. Like it was time to go to work. And they're like, "Go, go, go, go." And so we're running. We go up this little embankment to the logging road. Everybody's it's chaotic. Everybody's running to whatever truck, throwing stuff. I jump in the back of the first truck that I see. My little brother's in the back seat of this truck. I don't know how the other configurations were. My dad jumped in the back of the middle truck. My uncle throws one of the sleds. It almost hits me. He jumps in the back of the truck with me, and someone hits the vehicle, and that's a signal for everybody to take off. So they're taking off, and then I hear my uncle go, "Dean," and all of a sudden he just starts shooting. Boom, 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 and my dad starts shooting. Boom, boom, boom. And I look up because now I'm worried about my dad.
Yeah.
I know nothing's gonna happen to me because my uncle's there, but I'm worried about my dad. And I look up and I see this tree branch or whatever comes sailing through the air, and it goes right between the truck I'm in and the truck that my dad's in. And if we would have been any sooner or any later, someone would have got hit by that. And it wasn't just like lobbed out there; it was thrown like a spear almost.
Mm.
My uncle, my dad and my uncle are just firing into the woods at these things because they see them. They see him moving. They start taking crazy. They're just taking shots at him to keep him away from us. And we haul butt down this logging road. And the logging road had a couple of switchbacks when we got out of there. And as far as I know I've never been back to that area. And as far as I know, my dad and my uncle or anybody else has been back there. So
they when your dad changed changed gears, you probably had you ever seen him do that before?
No.
Yeah. And me and Daniel share a little bit of things in common. I wore the gray line hat tonight because being a correctional officer, and Daniel has too, and he's been in the military and all that. But without if you and I were in a situation and we hadn't worked together, but with our training, and something started going down, we could look at each other. And your first move, I'm gonna react to that move and do what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's similar to their military training, and for them to actually fire their guns, how they're trained.
Yeah.
They thought things were fixing to get really, really bad.
Yep.
So, I guess you're lucky and unlucky in a way because, and y'all, listen, Amanda and me and Daniel and some other people that kind of do this, we come from a standpoint of we've had encounters. And Amanda was so scared when her screamed and knocked her down. It kind of messed your brain up for a little bit,
Yeah, I got zapped.
And so a lot of people will say, I want to see one, or I want to, you don't see them on your own terms.
Be careful what you wish for.
You do it in their living room, so to speak. And I wasn't ready. I was naive enough that mine was far enough away that I felt a little comfort, right? But since then, I've been in situations where I was not the alpha, and I knew it. And that's something when you come to terms with it, it's there's no feeling like that. So for you to go through that, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with
No.
as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old? Sorry. How old were
right.
you when
I
that
was like-
particular?
I was probably about 9, maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, but the thing is I wasn't. I wasn't really scared.
Right.
But I look back on it now. And yeah, I do get emotional. And I'm sorry, guys, but
Hey, it's
No, don't
a
apologize
traumatic
at all.
experience, right? No,
And-
don't.
and I'm not emotional because of the experience. I'm
Right.
emotional because I watched 3 guys actually, because my uncle's Fred was also involved in it.
Yeah.
But I watched them go back to a place that when they came home, there was no thank you. There was no welcome home. Physically they were home, but mentally they were back there.
They were still there.
And they felt like it was about to happen again.
Right.
And they just reacted.
Training kicks in. Yeah. Experience kicks in.
You know, and I just can't imagine the kind of stress that they were put through at that time, you know?
Yeah.
And the anxiety that they had and
Well, you've
Not to
you've
mention
seen
they had their kids and everybody
Exactly.
there for all of that. That's
I'm
it's
sorry,
rough
guys.
for them.
no,
No,
and you
don't apologize at all. Like I
no,
said, I
no,
can't imagine that and what they were going through in that moment as well. And that's what a lot of people, like you just mentioned, Roger, who are like, oh, I want to see one or I want to have an encounter. It's like, and then I said, be careful what you wish for
Yep.
because these experiences are very, very real,
Yeah.
and some of them, most of them aren't pleasant, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life.
yeah,
Like these guys as veterans, like my grandpa as a veteran, they lived with PTSD from the stuff that they happened to and that they saw overseas. And then, you have people who have PTSD from experiences with cryptids as
Yeah.
well. So it's the whole thing is in the emotion. And then when you are telling the story, even though you've told it, several, 20 times or whatever, each time you're telling it, you're still reliving it.
Yeah.
So
and another thing, to y'all, what y'all are talking about, and I'm talking to people in chat that they're wishing for this or that. Daniel's dad and the people with him have been trained to deal with people, threats of people,
Yep.
not
Mhm.
of things that are not supposed to exist. So,
right.
and what I'm saying, they on the fly, they made decisions for the better of the kids in the group, and not knowing that they may have made the situation worse. You don't know if you're going to make it worse or better. You don't know if
Right.
there's 18 of them out there who have you surrounded. You know what I mean?
Right.
To be put in that position and them and having y'all, like Amanda said, with them,
Mhm.
there's no telling. I know you would love to talk to them now, but
Yeah.
wouldn't that be an interesting conversation? And they probably wouldn't talk to us about it. It's like, hey, go on. It wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
But, wow.
The last sighting I had was the one that, or not sighting, but the last encounter that I had is the one that really affected me, changed my outlook, changed my way I do things when I'm in or around the woods. 92, my grandfather passed away. I came home on emergency leave. My little brother was also graduating around the same time, and I told him I wasn't going to be able to make his graduation. That really, bothered me. Then my
Mhm.
grandfather passed away, so I got the emergency leave to come home, and he still thought that I was still going to be in Germany, and I surprised him for his graduation, and that was really a good thing. And my little brother and I were best friends. He passed away in 2016. He was 42, and so one thing we liked to do when we were kids is we would go camping. We'd get on our bikes. We'd have our little 2-man tent. We'd have our little sleeping bags or whatever, and whether it be in the front yard, the backyard, in a park, whatever, we would camp in the woods, and it was like our time because, we didn't always live together. He primarily lived with my mom, but when we were together, it was just him and I. We spent all of our free time together. Even though he was annoying at times, and I'm sure I was annoying when it came down to it, all I had to do was look, and he was there, So he graduated, and he goes, man, he goes, you want to do something? I'm like, yeah, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. I said, how about we could do some camping? He's like, hell yeah, let's go. So we get in his car, and we just packed just the essentials. We'd only maybe do like an overnight. We weren't thinking about staying any extended period of time. We just wanted to get out, him and I, because it had been years since we had done something like this. And he goes, well, let's go. And I'm going to say it happened in Shelby County. And anybody knows about Shelby County, you'll probably be able to know where this place is. But so we go to this spot, and we drive through the area, and we
Shelby County, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go, and according to BFRO, there's one confirmed sighting in this area. It's in Shelby County. So anyway, so we go, we park the car in this little area you can park, and we're going to take this trail. We take this trailhead, we go down, and we got our pack and stuff. And he's like, hey, let's cut through here. I know there's there's right by the river. And there should be a big sandbar there, and we could walk out on the sandbar and have a bonfire if we wanted to or whatever. You'd probably have to walk through like waist deep water in the Mississippi to the sandbar, but right now I'm almost 1,000,000% sure that has now been washed away with flooding and stuff like that. So as we're walking through, we walked a good, maybe 35, 40 minutes down the main trail, and then we veered off to the left, going off trail. And as we're going through, we get in a little ways, and walking in, we'd smelled something. I just figured it was deer or some type of an animal. Didn't really think of anything. And as we go walking through, my brother has to go to the bathroom, right? So he walks up to a tree, and he gets ready to do his business. And I hear this loud whistle come from my left-hand side. And so I look over to ask my brother, man, did you hear that? That's exactly what I was saying. Man, did you hear that? But he sees me looking at him. He's like, well, what are you doing, man? What are you looking at me? Where are you? I knew it. You joined the Air Force. That's what you are now. I go, man.
Brothers, yeah.
And I'm like, shut up, man. I said, no. I said, did you hear that whistle? Yeah, you whistled at me. I go, bro, that was not me. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So he finishes up. He's like, I'm gonna keep my eye on you. And so we start walking a little ways. Well, it's like the whole yawning thing. You see someone yawn, you gotta yawn. Well, I gotta go to the bathroom now. So I'm getting ready to go to the bathroom, and I hear this whistle again. And I go to my brother, I go, man, did you hear that? And he's like, yeah, I did hear that. And I'm just getting ready to start. My brother grabs me and pulls me away. Like grabs me by the back of my shirt and just yokes me back. And this branch or stick or something comes flying through the trees and hits the tree I was standing next to.
Oh my gosh.
And he goes, I just saw something over there, man. We got to go. I go, what is it? He goes, I don't know. We got to go. So I'm like, all right, so let's go. So we turn around. We start heading out pretty quick. And we don't get too far from where all this happened. And my brother all of a sudden just gets like sick.
Mm.
Like he almost drops down to one knee, and he's bending over, he's touching his knees, and he's like dry heaving, and he's like, "Man, I don't feel good, man. I don't feel good." And he's like, "Man, I'm dizzy. My head hurts. My chest hurts." And I'm like, "Here, man, here's some water. Here's some water." So he's drinking water. And I'm like, "Come on, man, let's go. Let's go." He's like, "Man, I still feel good." I'm like, "Come on, man, drink some water." So we get him drinking up some water. I get him drinking some water and stuff, and we start going. And now we're moving pretty quick. And he starts getting gassed because we're not like just nonchalantly. We're almost at a dead run trying to get out of there. And we hear this thing moving a lot, like it's pacing us or shadowing us or something. And he goes, "I saw it again. I saw it again." I go, "Let's go. Let's go." So now I'm picking up the pace even more. And he's falling behind. Like he is just, because he's a big boy. He's like 6'1", 6'2", like 300 something pounds. He's a big one.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, I'm gassed. We got to rest." I said, "Man, we can't rest. We got to go." And I take about less than 10 steps, and I get this overwhelming feeling like I'm just going to start throwing up. And I literally go down to my knee, and I'm dry heaving. My mouth is just, I'm drooling. My head is hurting. My chest is hurting. And I'm like, "Oh," I go, "Man, you gave it to me." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Man, I can't." And I'm like trying to throw stuff up, and I can't do anything. And he starts giving me water, and he said, "Come on, man, come on, come on." He's trying to pick me up. And I'm like, I can't. And he's like, "Come on, come on, come on." So I get up, I kind of get my wits about me a little bit. I take a couple big swigs of water, and we start taking off. And now I can kind of see where the main trail is. So we start getting more closer to this, and now we're on the main trail. And we start taking off, going back up towards the road. And he's like, "I can't go. I'm so tired. I'm like, "Come on, man. Come on, come on. We got this. You got this." And we finally come up to the little, where it goes down. We come up to the little embankment. We're on this paved road, and it's only a 2-lane road. And I'm facing where we're parked, and we're facing each other, standing on the road. And I'm looking towards where our car is, and he's standing and looking at me. And all of a sudden he's like, I just saw it across the road." And I go, "What do you mean, man?" He goes, "It's big." He goes, "I just saw it across the road." And I go, "Come on, man, we got to go." He's like, "Man," he goes, "I can't run. I'm so tired. I'm gassed." And he goes, "Tell Mom I love her." And I go, "What are you talking about?" I said, "We got to go, man. Come on." He's like, "I can't go, man. I'm not going to make it." And he goes, "Tell Mom I love her." And he goes, "Give me your knife." He goes, "I'll make sure you get to the car." And I'm like, "Oh, man, you can't." He keeps saying this. And I slap him as hard as I can. And I grab his knife. I go, "Go." I go, "I'm faster than you, man. Go. I got this." Now, in my mind, I'm trying to protect my little brother. And in my mind, I'm in the military. I'm a combat trained security police officer. Had ground combat training. I know how to use a knife. And I'm like standing there. I'm like, I'm invincible. I'm like, "Come on. You want to go? Let's go, you." And I know I'm cussing like crazy. "You want some of this? Let's go." I said, "It ain't gonna be easy, but I'm gonna give you everything I got. Let's go." And I hear my little brother go, "Come on, let's go." And I look real quick, and he's just turning the bend to where our car is parked. And I hear this thing making all this noise while I'm yelling at it, like, come on, let's go." And when he says, "Come on, let's go," I turn and I see him, and I just take it off. I'm at a dead sprint. I'm running with everything I got. And the whole time that I'm running, I hear this thing tear through the woods. I mean, it's like a bulldozer, and it's moving, and it's pissed off, and it wants nothing but trouble. So I go and I come around the bend, and my brother's standing by the car, and I have the keys in my pocket. and I try to Dukes of Hazzard it across the hood of the car. I land, kind of knocks the wind out of me. I get up because I didn't land it. I went whoosh, boom straight down, landed on my back, and I get the keys out. I open up the lock. I slide in, unlock his lock. I take my backpack off. It goes right into the back seat. I put the keys in, and he's like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." And so we take off, and you have to go through this road and then this road before you can come to this T stop. And if you turn right, you're going deeper into the area. If you turn left, it's going to take you out to where you get out to one of the main roads. And the whole time we're going, we come to the straightaway because from where he saw it, going through these roads and then to this other road before the T stop, it's all wood. So I'm sure it just jetted across the woods. And he's watching it. He says he could see it as I'm driving on this little straightaway before I turn left. And I barely slowed down, cranked the wheel, fishtailed it, and then took off. And then it made it to the main road. And then that was it. And because of that, I'll never go deep in the woods again. I will never walk off the beaten path. If I do go in the woods, I always carry a firearm with me with enough freedom seeds to start a war. And I carry a walking stick and I carry a blade.
Let me ask you this. So after all these years, and I know you think about it because all of us do, some more than others. Why do you think some people have more encounters than other people? Have you thought about that?
No, not until you and I talked about it.
Yeah.
That R negative numerology, whatever,
because Daniel, I started wondering why me, why, and I've had witnesses, Amanda's taking a break. So, and started looking in at me, and that's when I started learning some things. And then we talked about that like Monday night.
Yep.
I think after the show or maybe during the show.
Yep.
And I'm starting to find out that a lot of us that have things in common have a lot more in common than we thought at first.
Yep.
We do.
So maybe that's why we're drawn to each other, and the people in chat. Maybe that's why they're drawn here, and it's not a new thing to them if they've heard us talk before. But that's the question I'm asking people: is why us? And when I say us, I don't mean just us three. I'm saying all of us, because a lot of people, like you'll have the person that'll tell their encounter, and it's a great encounter. They come across a hill, they surprise one, it surprises them, and they have an encounter, right? But there's some people that seem like they go into areas, which of course it has to be an area probably where they're going. It could be anyway, But you can have, let's say, 10 people are there doing the same thing, but like say 2 of those people are like a magnet to them. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I've noticed it with Misty and Greg and a lot of people here in chat that I know personally. And you can, it's not going to be every time, but if something's going to happen, and 90% of the time there are people, there are witnesses. So it's not like, hey, I showed up and this happened or whatever, and then I'm telling a story. It's like, hey, you tell them what happened to us, like, and so I don't know, man. I'm 54 years old, and I never thought I'd be doing this. I've said that before. And I'm sure you didn't think when you were 30 years old, you'd be talking into a mic and pouring your heart out of some
30. I'm not 30.
No, I said when you were 30 years old, you didn't think you'd be here now. Yeah. You look good for 30. That's all. No.
I'm almost as old as you are, man. I'm
I know.
53.
I know.
So, but here's the thing: if all of these encounters that I've had, the only one I wish that would have happened was that sighting and that time frame around there, because I don't. The last one ruined me because
Yeah.
I was carefree and would love to go out in the woods and hang out and make primitive shelters and make forts and fish and whatever. I mean, love going out finding like these ponds that are out in the middle of the woods and
Right.
just kind of walking around and, oh, look, there's salamanders, or, oh, look, there's frogs or turtles, or there might be some crappie or bluegill in there,
Just exploring. Yeah, that's me.
I don't do it anymore.
I used to go and take a 22 and just go walk like you're talking about and find, like, oh my God, there's a hickory nut tree, or there's this or that. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, Daddy, I found it. Oh yeah, I knew it was there. You know where the Buckeyes are, and the next time I'd go look for that. It's just. But after stuff happens, you're way more careful. I mean,
well, I think it'd be combination of my last encounter and my military service. I am forever hyper alert. Always. I can never let my guard down. I can never relax when I'm out in public.
Right.
It's just I can't. So
you're a hard person to sneak up on, in other words.
When it's happened, when I was working in the Department of Corrections, it happened to me. When I told you that one inmate came up to me, he goes, "I got you. Well, I could have got you."
Yeah.
And I just told him in no uncertain words, "It happens again."
Thanks for and I had, but people that do that, he did that because he liked you.
Yeah.
I had a ex frogman. He might have known Amanda's kinfolk over there because he rode those boats up and down the rivers too. And he would pull up at the store. He would sneak up, and I'd be out taking the trash out, and he'd disguise his voice, and he'd say, "Stick them up." And I'd turn around and show him some steel, and he said, "Good job." I said, I saw you. I said, I knew you were coming off the exit over there. So, but they do that to keep you aware, because some of the stories he's told me, people get way too comfortable, and that's good. As long as you got somebody in the party that's watching everybody's back, But
that's me, and it's. I wish I wasn't like that, and the reason I say that is because I find myself that I'm missing so much stuff, and my wife's like, did you see so and so do that? Did you see your grandson do that? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. She's like, no, you didn't, and she's not lying, because something caught my attention, and now I'm looking at it, and there's been times, for one of our honeymoons or our like anniversaries, we went up north to Ely, Minnesota.
Oh, no way! That's one of my bucket trips. Does the road run out in Ely?
I don't know, because we just stayed in Ely and they kind of drove around a little bit areas, but that's where the
beautiful area.
That's where the boundary waters start.
I can't believe you just brought that up.
And see, we got a lot more in common than you think.
Oh, yeah,
there's that synchronicity again.
Yeah,
matter of fact, Daniel, I'm interrupting you, but this is funny. I was looking at Ely because I used to give people directions at the store because we didn't have GPS. So I had the maps out, and I was learning about the country and not traveling. And I spotted Ely, didn't know how to pronounce it, and then I went up and over, and then I saw Moose Jaw, Canada.
Yeah,
and I ended up emailing the Chamber of Commerce, Moose Jaw, Canada, and asked them why they named it.
Really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
We were on one of our anniversaries up there. Like her former boss, like paid as a wedding gift, paid for like a week's stay at the lodge that's up there. It's a pretty nice sized lodge, and then her son owns a really nice restaurant up there, and so we got a gift certificate, and then when he found out who we were, we didn't have to pay for anything. He's a super nice guy, but we were going up looking for these falls that a lot of people hike up to them, and like I said, I'm always strapped when I go.
Oh yeah.
And my wife's like, "Why are you bringing that?" You never know what you're gonna run into. You might run into a Bigfoot up here.
I'm not. Daniel, I can guess you and some of the people in chat. I plan my trips to reciprocate states. I don't want to
Yep.
drive through a state and get put in jail.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, Amanda? You look and you see. I ended up in the bottom corner of Illinois one time and about freaked out.
Oh
It
yeah.
was like, what's wrong? I said, I've got like
Yeah,
four
we moved
guns in
across
here.
country and had a couple times and had to plan exactly where we could
Yep.
go because we had quite a lot of boomsticks with
Yep.
us that we
We
had
were
to.
in Wyoming and got up in Cody, Wyoming, and
Yeah.
went to eat breakfast at the hotel. And apparently, a lot of people came,
Mhm.
and there was a bunch of guys, older men. And when I say older men, I'm talking about 45 Colts and stuff,
Yeah.
And we're sitting around, and I'm looking at all these weapons showing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, heck yeah! I said, we're in the place right here. And
Cody, Wyoming is one of the safest towns or cities in the United States. Like legit, it's for
I
real.
believe it.
But we got up there and we're hiking around and stuff, and I just get this feeling, and I didn't tell my wife this, because she's not going to believe me, but I
Right.
just got this really, really weird feeling that if we went too much further down this trail, just something wasn't right. And so I went and just my little safety strap, I unclipped that. She's like, "What are you doing?" I says, I'm just getting a feeling."
Yep.
It's like, "You're just crazy." And we got a certain way, and I said, "You know what? I'm not feeling too good. I think we need to go back. Like legit, I'm not feeling really good at all." And she's like, "You sure?" I was like, "I'm just not feeling good." I felt perfectly fine. It's just I was getting a feeling that we needed to stop and come
Mhm.
back.
Yep.
And then a bunch of younger kids and like teenagers and parents, they go running by up, and I'm thinking to myself, man, they have no clue. I hope nothing happens, but they have no clue. So they got a feeling something's up there. So
I've done that before on a hike too. I'll get
Yeah.
those oogie boogie feelings. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna turn back around, and like you said, and there's tourists and other people coming up behind me. Like, should I say something? Should I not?
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I just
for
pray
y'all,
for it. I'm like, Lord, take care of them.
for y'all in chat, if you ever hear a Southerner say, "Yeah," and my hackles rose,
yep,
that's what you're saying. Your kind of hair stands up, and
you're getting the oogie
and
boogies.
when I
Yep,
think
oogie
about this,
boogie feeling.
well, okay, y'all, since you brought that up, why I do believe that we have more than five senses.
Oh,
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
100%.
And I should have paid attention to my sixth or seventh or eighth sense before, and it got me in trouble. And now I kind of do. Once you get old enough, you recognize it. But you're in a position, Daniel, to have to kind of lie a little bit so you don't, you're in protection mode, but you don't want to
Mhm.
sound crazy either. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well,
I've done it. Oh my God.
Daniel
Yeah, I've
doesn't
done
live
it
too
myself
far
as
from
well.
Ely. I live about, I want to say, between 5 and 6 hours away from Ely. It is a fantastically beautiful place up there. And it's really weird. And this is more of, I think, my military bringing up is whenever I go out, at first they didn't get it. My wife and my kids, they didn't get it. But now whenever we go out, everybody knows we have to sit at a table. I don't sit in booths. I have to be at a certain spot on that table. And when I sit down, the first thing I do is I unholster it. I stick it underneath my leg. So if something happens, I got a perfect view of the entire area. I know where all the exits are, and I tell them, "Get out! I'll be out right behind you." So
Well, and me and Greg, I visited down there a lot, and down in North Alabama. He's military, he's law enforcement, and a lot of people that we know are former, and we've talked about that while we're out eating. It doesn't mean that you're invincible. It just means it's going to give you a chance, or give your loved ones a chance, right? Because you
Yeah.
know what you're going to do. If they're going one way, you're going another. So if
it's better to have it, not need it, than need it,
right,
not have it.
yeah,
That's the way I look at it. But You want me to share one of my paranormal or my UFO, or you guys need
Well,
to get out of here?
well, I'm good. Amanda, what about you?
I'm good, honestly, or we can cut it here and do a part 2 or something
Yeah,
maybe.
definitely.
Yeah, whatever you guys want.
Because now that we've got this, we can move into, a lot of us have, because we've had these encounters or whatever, and we've had UFO and paranormal and you name it. And
Laser, I'm good. Let's go. Woo!
let's go. But that's the thing too, when people say, when they say woo, it kind of gets a negative connotation a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't sit with my back to the door at all.
Me neither.
But I think to dig into it a little more, because I feel like there's another connection there also. We hear, I've heard all everything's connected. Well, I'm just starting to learn why, maybe, and everything always comes back to energy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And frequencies. And man, I learned some stuff today. I it's too much sometimes, y'all.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's
Sometimes you
in
gotta
lot.
take a step back. I have to do
Yeah.
that a lot myself.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, if I had to choose, am I sensitive in the way? I honestly, I just want to live a normal life.
yeah.
I just do. I really do. And again, it's not because I've seen them, or I've been touched by a ghost, or I've seen a UFO. No, I really have been touched by a ghost, but
Me too. Yeah.
Mhm.
it's not the things that happens. I just want to be able to go outside and go to a restaurant with my wife, or go to a movie with my wife,
And be
and
there.
not have. I want to be 100% with her. And what I mean by that is physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. But when we're out in public, I'm only there 3/4. I'm there spiritually, I'm there physically, I'm there emotionally, but I'm not there mentally because I'm too busy watching everybody else, and I've got to make sure that I protect her and I keep her safe.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
And my son and I had a talk in front of the ladies in the family one night about this stuff, and they were just like jaw dropping, like, um, the things that we have to think about. And like I said, it may not help, but it's better than not thinking about it. That's what we have, a security team at church. I'm sitting in one of the worst spots ever.
yep.
I'm in the back, my back to the door, and I just watch people's eyes. If a door opens, I'm looking at certain people, and if their eyes get wide, we're on the move. But
Mhm.
anyway, it I would want to talk, but we might be here for 4 or 5 hours. But the thing is, I think it needs to be talked about in more depth than what we probably can get into tonight. And
Yeah.
NDE is a near death experience.
Ah,
Yeah.
I knew it was an abbreviation for something. I'm sorry I have the
No,
dumb
you're
tonight.
good. You're good. And
I was
Daniel
watching the chat in
probably
the
had that. Yeah. Being in the military, you probably have one of those every 3
actually,
days.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's
You
several.
know.
Let me give you one story before we get out
Oh
of here.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it, please.
So FE Warren Air Force Base. All right. I'm a security police officer, and I never said any of this to anybody while I was in the military.
Oh no.
Mhm.
Nothing. Oh, Mr. Denton's in here. Daryl, I promise you, Saturday, you have as much time of my time as you want, brother. I promise you. You and
Hey,
Ron both have as much time.
Daryl done snuck in here on us. What's up, buddy?
So, FE Warren Air Force Base used to be an army post way back in the frontier days when people were migrating from east to west. So it has a cemetery on it, old graves on it. There's even some World War II prisoner of wars, German prisoner of wars that are buried there as well. So I'm working third shift or mid shift, and I'm police 5. I'm a relief officer. So I get my cruiser and I'm driving around and go up to the front gate if they need any help, or need anything to bathroom break or whatever, I provide that for them. I take their post and let them kind of stretch their legs or whatnot. So I do all that, and I decided I was going to start driving around, and I go, and I remember it was in November, and it was either a full moon or it was like the day before the full moon or the day after the full moon. Clear skies. There was some snow on the ground, maybe about an inch of snow, if that. But it was so bright. The moon was just like a giant light bulb in the sky. It was just magnificent, and it was so bright. And with the snow reflecting off of the snow, it was even brighter. So I didn't need to have a flashlight out. I could see everything. And so I'm driving, and I look over at the cemetery, and I think I see someone over there, like in the cemetery. Mm-hmm. So I go and I pull over and pull into the little area, and I get out, and the gates are there, and put my cruiser in park, and I get out and I start walking, and I'm seeing a lady standing in the cemetery. So I go walking up, and I'm probably, 25, 30 feet from her. I'm like, ma'am, you can't be in here. It's like 2 a.m. You're not allowed to be. You need to go. Mm-hmm. She doesn't say nothing. She's still looking like down at this grave or looking at something at the grave. So I take a couple steps closer and I go, ma'am, you can't be in here. And then she looks at me. And that's when I notice that she's in period clothing.
Oh, snap.
And I'm talking like late 1800s, early 1900s. Mm-hmm. And I look at her and I go, ma'am. And I take a step forward and I go, ma'am. And it felt like a gust of wind came through. But then I felt like I got like something in my, like wet in my face. Right. And I kind of go like this. I remember going like this. And then I hear my radio going off. Control, or police 5, this is control. Police 5, this is control. Radio check. Police 5, this is control. Radio check. Police 5, all secure. Then I realized that I'm laying on my back. And I'm doing a mental checkup. Do my feet move? Do my knees move? My fingers, kind of moving my back a little bit. Am I feeling any pain? I'm not feeling any pain. So I slowly get up and I look down and I can see where I was laying on the ground. Like I was flat on my back. I start looking around and I only see one set of prints. And they're mine from when I walked into the cemetery. And I'm like, what? So I go back to my cruiser. Now, this time I am chilled to the bone. Like I have this coldness in me. Like it's in my bones cold. If anybody's ever been super, super cold, magnify that by 10. And that's how cold I was.
The kind that takes 4 or 5 hours to get warm, or if that.
This took me 3 days to feel like I was warmed up.
Wow.
But I go walking back to my cruiser and I unlock it, and it's hard for me to even manipulate the key into the lock to unlock the door. And I open up the door and I get in and I crank the heat up as high as it'll go. And I'm sitting there and I look at the clock in the car and it's 45 minutes later, roughly 45 minutes later.
I was going to ask if they did a radio check every hour or whatever.
Every hour.
Yeah.
But from the time that I stopped and got out of my cruiser to the time that I got back into my car, it was 45 minutes. I don't know where 45 minutes of my life went.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm laying on my back. And I didn't say anything to anybody because in the military, 1, I had a top secret clearance. Number 2, I was on a thing called the Personal Reliability Program, which you have to be on when you work around the resources that I worked around. And y'all can guess, being in the Air Force, F.E. Warren Air Force Base, they had the 88th Missile Squadron, the 89th Missile Squadron, the 90th Security Police Squadron. So you can guess what's at that base. And I didn't want to say anything, and I didn't say anything to anybody because they would have pulled my security clearance. They would have pulled me off the PRP program. And then what am I going to do?
Right.
You know? And so I kept that under wraps for a long time.
And that does more damage than anything. Like, you want to tell people.
Yep.
But then you get in a habit of not telling people. And that carries over to other relationships and other things too. So
absolutely.
It sure does.
Man, there are so many people that a lot of my military friends have learned things in like the bars on base where some guy had a little too much and was in a trusted area. You know what I mean? And some of them are like, well, we didn't know if it was a test or what, and so we didn't say anything. You know, you don't know what's going on. But some of the stories I've heard just from former military, man,
that's 100% true, Melissa.
Right.
That's 110% facts.
And
absolutely.
Now, see,
some of the people care, and they'll ask you though, and the way they ask you makes you feel like if I asked you 2 days later, or you trusted me and we were friends back then, and I'm like, Daniel, what are you talking about? And what do you mean? Make me understand it. Well, if I'm not in that same mindset, there's no way you're not going to make me understand it. So.
You know, at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, I didn't tell anybody of that or a couple other incidences that I had.
Yeah.
Now there was one where me and my partner, we witnessed the same thing on a couple of occasions, which is pretty crazy. One of them is very documented. You can even do ghosts on F.E. Warren Air Force Base and just look for the ghost of Fam Camp, FAMCAMP. And that's a truth. I've experienced that.
S.E.
F.E. Warren.
F.E. Warren.
Yeah, Francis.
Yeah.
So it's Foxtrot Echo and then Warren, WARREN, Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Gotcha.
But then when I was over in Germany,
interesting things out there in Cheyenne.
Well, F.E. Warren Air Force Base is known for its hauntings. It is very haunted. It's a haunted base. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
What's the reason? Is it built on some kind of sacred ground that they don't know of?
Well, it was a frontier fort. So you can imagine all the stuff happening. You know,
imagine the bad stuff that happened out there.
Yeah, you know, the Indian Wars and all that type of stuff, and the settlers expanding. You know, moving from back east, coming west to gain their fortunes or whatnot. But when I was in Germany, I've got lots of people that I still talk to today that I was stationed with that will talk about. We will sit there and start talking, and we'll talk about the exact same encounters, exact same experiences, exact same things that we saw, because we've experienced them. I have a buddy of mine who I talk to probably 2 or 3 times a month, and when I had my other podcast, my paranormal narrative podcast, he was going to try to find time to come on so we can just sit there and have a talk like we are now about every single thing that we saw and encountered at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. Things that we saw, things that we heard. Not F.E. Warren, but Nordwich Air Base, Germany. Everything we saw in the dormitories, just some crazy, crazy things then. So, but yeah.
And so people that are, let's say, in tune to some of this stuff, right? I remember I was working in a place, and I was on the docks, and there was 2 of us back there, and then we were shipping, and there was 1 receiving, and it was just us. And after a few months, I got to know everybody. So one of the guys had been there a long time. I'm like, Daryl, you ever see shadows in the corner of your eye and stuff moving? Like, he said, where at? I said, over there where those double doors are, I keep seeing, when I'm not looking over there, but I can see it in my peripheral, I'm seeing movement. And you know how it is. If you're see leaves moving, you're always looking to see, what's moving. And I'm always turning. I'm like, what in the world? I started talking to everybody. He said, go out and ask those girls in that other room exactly what you just asked me. There was an old man had been there forever. He walked out those doors, had a heart attack, and died right in that spot. And every one of them was like, yeah, we see weird stuff all the time right in that area. And I'm like, like goosebumps. Like, and now it didn't surprise me because I've had stuff happen. It surprised me that the honesty of the people, so.
Well, I don't know if Daniel from I'm drawing a blank. Magical Journeys.
Yeah, he was in here earlier.
I don't know if he's still in here, but I was on his show, and Right Pat is very, very haunted as well. But anyway, right behind me where the Seahawk flag is right there.
Yeah.
I was on his, had an interview and I was talking with him, and he just like near the end, he goes, I gotta stop. I gotta ask you a question, Dan. He goes, who's the lady that's behind you right now?
Oh my God.
And I go,
oh gracious.
I go, man, stop playing games with me. And he's like, no, she's right there. And I go, okay, describe her. And he goes, well, she's kind of short. She's older. She's got curly gray hair. And I go, okay. And he goes, she's got glasses on. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah. And I go, does she look like this? I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Does she look like that? And he goes, that's exactly who that is.
Wow.
This is my Nana. This is my grandma. Wow. And he goes, she is so happy to be with you. Like, she's there all the time. And I started bawling. Oh, yeah. And so.
Oh, I would too. Somebody said if my Nana was there with me, I'd lose it.
Fast forward a couple of, like, maybe a month or so, I have a guest on my show. And her name's Sabrina. She was on one of my co-hosts on my last live last Saturday. And she was like, I can sense when they're around. I'm a medium, and this was my story, and this and this. And she's talking about her Bigfoot and the juvenile that, she saw, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, And so at the end of it, she kind of went in the lobby with me, and we're sitting there talking and stuff. And I go, you mentioned you're a medium like 2 or 3 times, and she's like, yeah. And she goes, I go, so I was on a podcast, and the host stopped, and he goes, I've got to ask you, who is that? He goes, did he talk about the lady who's standing behind you right now? And I go, shut the front door. And I showed her the same picture. She's like, that's her. That's her.
Oh, wow.
And I go, listen, I said, if I'm getting goosebumps again, because this is a happy another moment for me. But
yeah,
I go, if this is real, if you're not goofing with me somehow, what did my Nana give me at my Daddy Bob's funeral? Now, my grandfather, I called him Daddy Bob. Okay. Mm-hmm. And she goes like this. She kind of tilts her head, right? She kind of tilts her head, and she's like where she's like listening. And then she starts pointing in her hand. She starts going kind of like this, kind of going like this. And I'm like, what is she doing? And she goes, she gave you a watch. And I go, no, not a watch. And then she goes, she gave you a pocket knife. And I go, shut the front door. Now, I'm telling you, this is not what I was thinking about. She goes, she gave you a pocket knife. And I go, yeah, she did. It was my Daddy Bob's pocket knife. He had that when he was like a teenager, and he carried it with him everywhere he went, even through, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He had it with him. And she goes, also, she gave you like a puppy. I go, no, she never gave me a puppy. She's like, yeah, she did. She's like, insistent. She gave you like a small dog. And I go, no. And she's like, yeah, she's telling me she did. And it's like a small, like a tiny, like a like a toy dog. I think that's what she is. Something like, and I go, shut up. I go, yes, upstairs, I have a porcelain German Shepherd that my grandfather had brought back from Japan when he was part of the occupying forces.
Oh, wow.
And I go, yes, she did. And then we start talking. Then she goes, she gave you a ring like this. She said she palmed it to you. And I go, she gave me my Daddy Bob's Marine Corps ring.
Mm.
He said, and she said he wanted you to have it. And so, yeah. So whatever the connections are, they are. I don't understand. I'm not going to try to understand. Wade, have a great night, buddy. I'm not. It is what it is. I'm not going to try to understand it. I don't know if I really want to understand it, because I think when I start understanding it, then it's going to stop happening.
Maybe, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like Greg said the other night about other stuff, maybe we're not meant to fully right now understand things. We might not be able to handle it, but
right.
I know I was in there's, if y'all have heard of the Thomas House in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee. It's been on a few of the paranormal shows on TV, and we went up there. It's not far from here, 3 hours or so, and we were riding around. There's a lady outside. I wasn't going in for nothing. I wasn't stepping in there, and I was talking to her, and she was the wife, the owner, part owner. She was the wife, and her husband owned it. She said, "Did you see the episode where it's Ozzy Osbourne's son, whatever,
Yeah,
Jack? They went in and did an episode in there." I said, "No, I haven't seen that yet." She said, "Well, when you watch it, there's a guest that was here, and she was taking a picture, and in the mirror, it's purplish." She said, "There's an image," and she said, "You see this?" She brought it up. And on her phone, she said, "You see that right there?" She gave me the picture. That's my sister. She died 6 months before this picture was taken. And she was
my goodness,
kind of like smiling, and I got full body goosebumps.
Man,
I believe her name was Cherry. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "How do you feel about that? How does that, the investigator kicked in?" I'm like, "How does that make you feel?" And I said, "Does it scare you?" She said, "No, it's comforting because I felt like it was her letting me know that she's okay." And I don't know how she got that. Maybe it was some, she knew her, you know what I mean? So maybe she told her, "Hey, I'll come back and give you a sign," or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is definitely something to this. And Amanda, you live right smack dab in Appalachia.
Oh yeah,
I can see them from here, but this whole area,
it's bananas, to put it nicely. Yeah. Because it's incredible on the things that we can see, that we can understand, or we don't understand them when we see them, but things that we encounter. I'm just going to check a night to everybody in the chat real quick.
Yeah, and tell the ones that don't know. Let me pop a picture up right here. Hold on.
If you guys like to come on my show, it's all right if I plug this.
Yeah, go for it.
No, Daniel, no. Go ahead.
If you guys like to come on my show, it's the Cryptid Podcast. I'm found on YouTube. You can email me at the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. Again, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. Check out some of the stuff that I got going on. If you like it and it deserves a like, and my channel deserves a subscription from you, please feel free to do so. And for those of you who like to listen to podcasts while you're driving, I'm also found on Spotify.
You know what? I'm gonna pick your brain about that. Amanda might too.
Okay.
Yeah.
If sometime, if it's.
I'm gonna tell you right now, it's hard. It's not hard. It takes a long process,
right,
to get to certain levels, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for coming on, Amanda. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing your stuff. Like I said, you got emotional, obviously, and I was getting emotional with you. Like I said, I knew you've had experience, and you kind of gave us tidbits here and there as we've talked back and forth, but to hear everything that you've experienced and it being only tidbits of it, you've experienced a lot, bro.
Well, I mean,
I want to give you a hug.
I keep telling myself, and it is the more I talk about it, the easier it is. But
Same.
The loss of my little brother, just mention that makes me tear up because
and that's understandable.
And
look, this is one of the easier shows and harder shows that I've ever done because sitting back and listening, and you're a talker and you get great details, but when you get emotional, I'm glad I had my testosterone shot a couple of days ago, where I'd have been in the floor over here in the field.
It's you can prepare for like a grandparent, you can prepare for a parent.
Yeah,
you can't prepare for a child. Right. You can't prepare for a younger sibling.
Yeah, we ain't supposed to.
And my little brother is literally. People say, "Oh, I've got best friends." I say I have best friends. I got this person, this person, this person. They're my best friends.
Yeah.
But my little brother was my absolute best friend. One of my cousins said, after he found out my little brother passed away, he called me and he goes, I've never known two guys who are more meant to be brothers than you two.
Yeah.
He goes, when I think about brothers, I think about you two. You two were legitimately like the picture perfect what brothers were. He would drive me crazy. I would drive him crazy. When it came down to it, real quick story. One time, me and my brother, we were getting at it. Like, we were just going crazy, right? Well, my friend jumped on him. Oh, no, his friend jumped on me to pull me off of my brother. And then my friend jumped on my brother to hold him back. Well, my brother broke free, jumped on his friend, started beating the snot at him. Well, then my friend jumped on my brother to pull him off, and I jumped on my friend and started beating the snot out of him. And they're like, and real quick, they're like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, like what the
wait, what is happening here?
And my brother looked at him, and he goes, he is exactly what he said. He looked at both of them. He goes, "You two stuck your nose in something you didn't need to stick your nose in." He goes, "I'll tell you both right now. You ever put your hands on my brother again?" He goes, "I'll kill both of you."
Well, think about this, Daniel. You're talking about an intense connection, energy, and when you two were together, you may have been like beacons to some of these creatures.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to look at it from now that I've started to learn about energy.
Yeah,
I don't know if it means anything, but the stories, the intense stories that y'all had together, shared, was there ever any time that you were without him that something happened that intense?
No, not that. I mean, okay, so as intense, so like the first two encounters when I was like 7 and 9,
yeah,
okay, were those intense? Probably, but I was with my little brother at 9.
Right.
But by myself, no. And it's funny thing is, we went and talked about this negative blood thing or whatever. My dad was AB negative. My little brother was AB negative. Me, I'm A negative. And I think my mom was B negative. So, I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
Yep.
And like I said, my brother and I, we just knew. He didn't have to say nothing, and I knew something was going on. I didn't have to say something; he knew something was going on. And it's just the way that we were. Yep. Always. Even if we lived, it was 5 years between us seeing each other because he lived with our mom and I lived with my dad. Mm-hmm. And when we got together, it's like we didn't miss a beat. We picked up right where we left off. Like there was no time in between the gaps that we weren't together.
I never had a brother, but there's a guy in this that lives in northeastern Kentucky that he is my brother. Same thing. If we don't see each other for 5 years, his wife is from that area, And she said, I've never seen anything like it. He's a different person. When y'all come together, I see a different man than I've been married to for the last 30 years, you know. And I'm like,
my wife says the same thing about me and Josh. Like Josh called me right before I came on, and she's like, "Who you talking to?" I go, "Josh." She goes, "Oh, you're talking to your boyfriend?" And I go, "Shut up, that's my bro." And then she'll eavesdrop, and she goes, "You talk to him different than you do other people."
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, "Yeah."
You say he gets me.
He does. He does.
That's right. That's right.
He completes me.
That's right. And look, in the how you know that is, whether it's a relationship between, you know, a married couple or best buds or girlfriends or whatever, it's like when you know what's going on in their head and you know nobody said anything.
Yep.
That's when you know you have that connection. So
Yep.
y'all,
Yep.
I could talk for 10 hours. Everybody knows that. And
Yeah.
I have to pull a Daniel Hamilton. Hey, I was going to tell you, there's a guy here, last name Hamilton. I don't know, and he lived a lot of years in Memphis, but he's from here.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, he helped embalm Elvis, and he was one of the pallbearers. He was a fill-in because one guy couldn't do it. And if you ever watched them bring the casket out, he's the young guy with long blonde hair that nobody knows who it is, and everybody always like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
He's from here. So
I'll tell you right now, when I worked for the Tennessee Department of Corrections, I went to River Bend, where Mr. James O'Ray was being housed, and I've actually had conversation with that man.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, see, we got too much in common, man.
I know.
So,
there's a bromance in the making here, guys.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to get out of here. He's about
Josh,
to
you better be
me.
careful.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming in and checking out the show. Again, thanks for all the love and understanding. Stop by my show, the Cryptid Podcast, on YouTube and Spotify. Please give me a like, a share, a sub, and I promise you I'll bring you the best content that I can possibly bring you. So, Roger, I can't thank you enough. Amanda, it's great seeing you again.
Absolutely, Dan. Anytime.
You guys have an amazing night. Everybody, I love you guys. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always begins with a sighting. You guys have a great night.
See you, Dan.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Dan.
Y'all, everybody, thanks for coming in and checking us out. Normally on a Thursday night, he would have had to left because him and Josh are on at like 8:30 our time. So y'all give them check them out. And he's probably got to go to the restroom again. Agonizingly fun show.
Yeah.
You know, it gets you in the feels. I mean, I saw you
Definitely
choke up a couple times, and I was trying to keep from it.
I was right there with it. Yeah. And I see that so often, you know, being in the position that I am, where I talk to people so often, sharing these experiences. You know, you're as you're standing there and you're watching them relive that moment over and over again. And I know I mentioned it earlier in the show. I just want to reiterate to people that, you know, this is another reason why a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Is not necessarily that, you know, they're afraid of ridicule or whatever. A lot of times people just don't want to relive that over and over again.
And
so I know I got that way for a while too. I'm like, I'm just tired of talking about it. No, I'm not going to talk about it. So
and some of them will share some of the story, but you probably
not all details.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I abbreviate mine a lot of times for a lot of people. Depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go to Paul Harvey to get the rest of the story. You're probably too young to remember that, but y'all. Wendell. Before Wendell gets on to me, y'all, he asked a question early on. I don't know if this is going to show up. I had a little sign made, just testing out. I don't know if it's going to reach, but a lighted sign, and I don't know if it shows up.
Oh, that's cool.
But it shows up better off camera.
Yeah.
I was going to put it behind me, but you can see these things are blurring. So, Wendell, there's your answer. And I don't know. Anyway, I guess we'll sign off. Thank you, Amanda. Y'all keep an eye out for Amanda and I and Ashley is going to do one pretty quickly. And we're all going to pick a cryptid of our choice, dig into it, and share some stories with y'all. And I think that'll be fun for everybody.
I think so too. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. It'll basically, as we're learning it, we're going to be sharing what we're learning about it with you guys.
Yep.
And not Bigfoot either. It's going to be something different.
Yep. Yep, and we may find some connections doing that. So
find some more synchronicities.
Yep, I'll learn. One of these days I'll learn how to spell that.
Right. I can't spell it. What are you talking about? Anyway, I had to pick at you. All right. Well, there's our Southern goodbyes. Y'all have a good night.
One thing. Larry Sharp, thank you so much.
Oh yes, Larry, thank you very much.
Yes. For those of you who got a surprise, I think what happens in this, he paid $10 for 10 memberships and they go out randomly. It's not like he chose who it went to. So y'all thank Larry when you see him in the next chat. And we appreciate it so much. All right.
Have a good night, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Squatch and Holler.